Chapter 20. Things one shouldn't dare to touch. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Things one shouldn't dare to touch. 2. You piece of shit. Gugiliab at first thought he misheard, but he did hear the curse thrown at him. What did you say, young master? Ha, why am I always getting bothered when I just want to live a quiet life? I just want to live in peace, so why don't you all leave me alone? Swoosh. The heat that passed by Gugiliab had gotten intense. This meant Gu Yangchen's fire chi was getting stronger. Lord Second Elder. Gu Yangchen calls to the Second Elder. What? May I start the duel? Was it a mistake? To Second Elder's ears, it sounded as if Gu Yangchen was asking him for permission to kill Gugiliab. Did he become stronger again? In that short amount of time, there's no way that he had gotten that much stronger. That probably wasn't the case, it's only been a few days. No matter how talented you were, being able to grow that much in that time was just impossible. Then, is this the strength that he always possessed? How efficiently you used your chi was all dependent on your training and experience as a martial artist. But the appearance Gu Yangchen had at the moment was only possible for people who had trained for decades. This is quite strange. How is this possible? Gu Yangchen's chi and power are way lower than Gugiliab's. That's what the Second Elder saw, but he wasn't getting pushed back at all. In fact, it seemed to almost be even. How? The one who was most shocked about this was Gugiliab. While the training area was getting heated up from both of their chi, he could feel that it wasn't one-sided. The disgrace of the Gu clan, an arrogant son of Gu who had collapsed in front of him puking last year. He was now standing in front of him only 1 year later and on equal footing. His thoughts were dismissed with a voice. Duel starts now. With the Second Elder's signal, the duel has begun. Gugiliab raised his wooden sword and decides to first observe Gu Yangchen. Red Dragon Sword was the sword that was used by the Gu clan. It was a good complement to Gugiliab's martial skill, swift flame arts. This was a fighting style that utilized sharp and fast chi, also known as sword draw art. Gugiliab looked at Gu Yangchen, who was just staring at him with a dumb look, and thought to himself, what am I even worrying about? He looked clumsy from head to toe. I bet he is using all of his power just to push my chi back. Just after a few exchanges I'll be in range to strike him down with my sword. It's impossible for Gu Yangchen to beat me, he just started to learn how to fight with his fists. I was just distracted by that servant YCOL. I can't forget what my main target is right now. No matter what I do, I just need to target his vitals, and Gu Yangchen won't even be able to block. I need to make him lose in the most pathetic manner possible. I achieve my goal of coming here while also taking his beautiful servant away. To Gugiliab this was a total win-win situation. However, Gugiliab started to become a little confused a little after the duel started. Why in the hell? Why can't I get close to him? Gugiliab couldn't understand himself. All he had to do was quickly attack him, it was simple. Chi, speed, strength, he had the advantage in all aspects, yet he couldn't even get close. Drip sweat trickled down to the ground from Gugiliab's cheek. It's all this damn heat. Gugiliab blamed the heat as the problem. Him getting pushed back by Gu Yangchen. There was simply no way, or so he thought. Hey! Gugiliab flinched at Gu Yangchen's voice. What are you doing? What do you mean? What the hell are you doing standing there? Are you not going to attack? It's common sense that in a duel the stronger person lets the weaker person attack first. Weak? Who? Me. Is that why you're scared? Gugiliab bit his lips upon hearing Gu Yangchen's words. He couldn't even understand his own actions at the moment. Then Gu Yangchen spoke, you told me I was veteran for a month in our last duel, right? Gu Yangchen cracked his neck. Every time he moved his neck, cracking sounds reverberated, which was oddly scary. What, makes you ask that all of sudden? I thought that'd be enough. Suddenly, all the heat that was coming from Gu Yankikon disappeared. Why did he remove it? Gu Jieliub came to a realization and smiled as he thought to himself. He ran out of chi. He can't use it anymore, what an idiot. It would be hard for Gu Yangchen to take even a single step now that he was out of chi, not to mention he was getting compressed by my chi. My master had told me that the chi of swift flame arts would make even the first-rate martial artist struggle to move. He also told me that once enough time passes, I'll become the Gu's greatest genius rather than the sword phoenix. Therefore, there was no way that Gu Yangchen would be able to withstand my chi. That must be the case. Was it all a bluff after all? That means that I can. You told me I can go first, right? Ha! Gu Jieliub's eyes widened. Gu Yangchen was looking at him unperturbed. The signs of struggle Gu Jieliub expected Gu Yangchen to exhibit weren't present. Let me ask once more, I can really go first, right? The stronger person. Right, here I go then. Gu Yangchen didn't let Gu Jieliub finish. In an instant Gu Yangchen, who was right in front of Gu Jieliub's eyesight, disappeared. The vision of a martial artist was much more advanced than an average person. Gu Yangchen disappearing right in front of Gu Jieliub, who was about to become a first-rate martial artist, could only mean a few things. He either went into the ground, shot up at the sky, or that he was faster than me. Impossible. The direct family members' flame arts mainly focused on their explosive power. On the other hand, the swift flame arts focused more on speed rather than the power of fire. So there's no way that he's faster than me. Puh. Ugh. His sight became blurry from the sudden impact on his face. He also lost all the focus he had on his chi because of it. Gu Jieliub wobbled and collapsed on one knee. He felt a stream of liquid flowing down his face and dripping to the ground. Taking a glance down, he notices the color, red. Gu Jieliub roughly wiped his face and noticed that his nose was bleeding. What in the world? My vision is still blurry. What just happened? You want to duel, but you have the balls to think about something else. How dare you? In front of Gu Jieliub stood Gu Yangchen. Rather than continuing his attacks, he just stood and stared down at Gu Jieliub. I purposely didn't aim for your chin, so why are you acting all weak? Get the fuck up. Gu Jieliub came back to his senses and quickly swung his wooden sword, but a sword with no power or chi held no threat. Clasp. The arm swinging the wooden sword was grabbed by Gu Yangchen. Without any hesitation, Gu Yangchen struck Gu Jieliub's face again. Gug. Gu Jieliub's head jolted upwards from the strong strike to the bottom of his chin. Gu Yangchen flung him away, causing him to roll several times before coming to a stop. Gu Jieliub's body shuddered, unable to withstand the attacks. While persevering, he stood up with his face bloodied from his nosebleed. I'll ask one last time, are you sure I can go in? Gu Jieliub's eyes started to shake after hearing his words. The second elder, who was watching it all, thought to himself. You went in already. He didn't say it out loud though. ******** Martial arts were taught in order to save people. I don't know how it is in other places, but that was the case for the Gu clan. Ever since I was young I was told that martial arts were taught to protect the people of Gu. That was the reason it was taught to us at a young age. But my opinion of that stupid saying never changed even as I got older. To me, martial arts exist to kill. To rip apart and shatter your enemies completely. It was up to the person whether they used it for good or for evil. However, I've experienced so much of what I think martial arts is created for. In its raw form, martial arts is all about ripping and shattering enemies apart. I've experienced it so many times that I never wanted to experience any more of it. That piece of shit. Gu Jieliub's face is telling me that he thinks I've run out of all my chi or something. But the heat never actually disappeared. I instead pulled all the heat into my body. Chi that was sucked into the body forcefully makes the user stronger and enhances their body strength. This was a skill that was only achievable by reaching the 5th realm of flame arts. This didn't necessarily mean that I became stronger than Gujiliub thanks to the skill. It was just that I had more understanding of Chi than he did. This generation is focused mainly on killing demons. It meant fighting humans with martial arts was harder because of the lack of understanding. This was another reason why I was able to easily go against Gujiliub and Guyansio. While using this skill it felt like the insides of my body was getting blended up and broken down, but I didn't let it show. This skill is a bit tough for me who just reached the 2nd realm. With every breath I took I heaved a sigh of steam. It wasn't cold outside, it was the skill. I have at most 7 minutes, that's my limit. If I go any further than that I'll get seriously injured. That should be enough. I saw Gujiliub staggering, he was breathing heavily and the impact made him lose all focus. Get up when I give you the chance. Don't give me bullshit like, it was a sucker punch after the duel ends. The bastard got up staggeringly upon hearing my words. He endured his pain and got into his battle stance once again, concentrating his chi. The heat compared to before was much smaller, but Gujiliub's chi was definitely well trained. I apologize for underestimating the young master. I let my guard down. Gujiliub apologized to me as he came to his senses. I don't need any excuses, should I attack again? This time I will attack. Go ahead. Gujiliub wiped the blood on his face and got into his stance. The red dragon used the style of sword draw art. The movement had to be flawless and natural without any mistakes. This meant that one needed to have a good understanding of the swift flame arts to even begin to use the sword. Gujiliub swung his sword, heat spreading around the area from his sword. With my eyes locked onto his sword, I moved my torso slightly and dodged his attack. The slight heat told me that the second attack was the real one. Gujiliub swathed his sword with chi for the upcoming attack. He then did a half spin before coming closer. He was empowering his sword further. He had deliberately spun to store chi of the swift flame arts into his sword. While it lacked destructive power, he made up for it with tremendous speed. He has a good understanding of the basics. His flawless movement told me he trained quite a bit, but the basics were still only the basics. Movements that had to be flawless had a disadvantage. Once broken, the advantage of being flawless would disappear. Without hesitation, I charged in at Gujiliub. His eyes shook as he thought I was going to dodge his attack rather than come straight at him. But Gujiliub doesn't stop his sword. It was about to strike my head, but I channeled the fire chi to its maximum output. I also released all the heat that was inside my body in one go. The heat that came out instantly engulfed the entire training area. It was bound to disappear after a short time though. But there was no way Gujiliub was fine after being hit directly with such heat at close proximity. It might not have done a lot of damage, but I was able to make him blink for a moment. This was plenty of time for a martial artist to finish the duel. I drove my fist enhanced with chi into Gujiliub's guts. Cough Gu. I didn't hold back like last time. Even with chi surrounding Gujiliub's body, my fist was able to drive rather far into his body. Gujiliub collapsed down onto his knees and started to puke. Cough. Cough. Bleg, do you know what pisses me off the most? I thought to myself while looking down at Gujiliub. Should I kill him? That was the thought I had throughout the whole duel. I knew I shouldn't, but the struggle to calm down the torrential wrath was vexing. Fixing my toxic personality was a rather hard thing to do. But this guy kept taunting me. Whatever you say to me, behave towards me, desire to take the Lord's position from me, I don't care about any of that. Gujiliub, who was puking on the ground, stopped and looked me in the eye while shuddering in fear. But you reached out your dirty hands and tried to take something you never should have dared to touch. That's what fucking pissed me off. I just didn't like how he reached for something he shouldn't even dare to think about getting. I couldn't kill him. I wanted to, but my reputation was more important. Instead, I just wanted to cripple him for a month. Make him bedridden for a month like he did to me, nothing more and nothing less. What should I go for? A leg? No, an arm would be much better. He wields a sword, so breaking his arm would be the best. As I was reaching for his arm, I was stopped by a hand. And it ends here. It was the second elder. I looked at him dumbfoundedly. Why are you stopping me? The duel hasn't ended yet. Gilead is not in a state where he can continue to duel further. You know this more than anyone. He was bleeding from his nose and had vomit all over his mouth. I had directly drilled my fist where his liver was, so he's probably struggling to even breathe at the moment. But even then, ending it here like this wasn't anywhere near satisfying enough for me. There are a lot of eyes watching. I had to stop after hearing the second elder's telepathic voice. Sigh, I heaved a sigh and walked away from him. The first elder definitely didn't send him alone. I forcibly calmed myself down. I can't make stupid decisions driven by emotion. Tell the first elder that if he does shit like this again, I might want to become the Lord. Don't bother me further. With that warning, I turned away and went towards Ycol.a. Ycol.a didn't even give a single glance towards Gugiliub, who was half dead, and only focused her sights on me. Young master, you won. She asked nervously. Was it because she would be sent away if I didn't win? Yes, I did. Yay. I stared at Ycol.a, who smiled brightly upon hearing the news. While also smiling to myself, I patted her on the head. Just this is enough for me. Chapter 21. Why is he venturing out again? 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is he venturing out again? 1. Ancient Gu clan, of Shangxi. A small clan that belonged to Tiger Warrior, Gu Changjuan's uncle, which was a small part of the Gu clan. If the Gu clan served as the guardians of Shangxi, then the ancient Gu clan acted as the sword. The main reason was that most of the martial artists of ancient Gu clan were transferred over to the swordsmen of Gu. Some of the swordsmen were picked through the Nine Dragons tournament, but most of the martial artists who became Gu's swordsmen were from ancient Gu clan. Slap. A sharp slapping sound resounded through the entire room. Gu Gileub's head twisted the other way along with the sound. Drip. Blood fell from Gu Gileub's mouth while he was getting scolded. You incompetent brat. I apologize. You couldn't even beat one brat. And what did you do instead? You lost miserably. In Gu Gileub's perspective, he felt rather sad. He also had no idea Gu Yangchen was hiding such power. But Gu Gileub wouldn't dare to voice his thoughts to Gu Changjun. You imbecile. You messed up because of one servant. Slap. Slap. With every slap from Gu Changjun, Gu Gileub's head twisted, but he had no other choice but to bear it. Why did you fail? Gu Gileub struggled to give an answer to the question. But when he noticed Gu Changjuan's cold eyes, he opened his mouth that was shut before. It is true that I was distracted by the servant, but Gu Yangchen's skill was real. I never let my guard down. Gu Gileub clenched his fist to the point of shaking. His pride was hurt. He had to acknowledge Gu Yangchen's skills now that he was one-sidedly beaten. He couldn't look down on him anymore. The movement he saw from Gu Yangchen was real. It wasn't a coincidence, nor did Gu Gileub let his guard down, it was just Gu Yangchen's pure skill. How many attacks were exchanged? Was it 3? Was it 4? Funnily enough, he was stronger than Gu Yangchen when it came to both physique and chi. But in the end he still couldn't defeat him and managed to lose in a distasteful manner. Gu Gileub tried to hide his quivering lips by clenching his teeth. Then, Gu Changjun spoke. You should have at least broken something. Grandfather. We are at the ancient Gu clan, call me by my title. I apologize. Lord. The voice Gu Jieliub heard was so cold that it gave him goosebumps. The eyes that were staring at him didn't help in this case either. Clean. No injuries or any marks. I can't find a single thing. There were only small bruises left on his body from the duel. Gu Jieliub took a lot of damage to his face during the duel, but there weren't any marks visible on his body. It meant that Gu Yangchen controlled his power by disabling his qi, while also inflicting pain. A skill used by the people of unorthodox factions in order to torture. Gu Changjun stroked his long beard and thought. He heard from his spectators that the second elder stopped Gu Yangchen from harming Gu Jieliub any further. Gu Ryun. You're getting in my way again. What was his problem? The second elder was always like that. He would always try to force Gu Yangchen into training, and neglect his job as an elder and instead focus on making him the young lord. Gu Changjun didn't like that aspect of Gu Ryun. He didn't like it one bit, just because he had the blood of Gu running through his veins meant that he would become the future lord. How he would sit at the throne of the lord even though he had no talent and a poor temper. No, now it's just the blood and temper part. Tsk Gu Jieliub flinched a little from the sound. I don't like how things are going right now. Gu Changjun heard that Gu Yangchen might want to become the lord if he continued to bother him. How dare he? Gu Changjun had to control his wrath after hearing such words. The reason why the lord of Gu couldn't easily deal with Gu Changjun despite the fact that he knew about his ambitions, was because of how Gu Changjun was the owner of ancient Gu clan. The owner of Shangxi may have been the Gu clan, but the sword of the Gu clan was the ancient Gu clan. What can the Gu clan do without their sword? The current lord was strong. The tiger warrior was in his prime as a martial artist. However, his views differed from the lord of Gu clan, tiger warrior, Gu Qilan. He knew that himself. Gu Changjun also wasn't able to do anything reckless because he was also a member of the Gu clan. But that kid who only possesses half of Gu's blood, dares to warn me. What should I do? Gu Changjun looked at Gu Jieliub. His grandson. He was a very talented kid. There was a reason why he was compared with the sword phoenix. He even reminded him of his dead son. Therefore, the reason why Gu Yangchen had to stay pathetic was so that Gu Changjun could achieve his long-awaited goal. When he heard that Gu Yangchen won against Gu Yanxiu, he thought that it was just a coincidence. Gu Yanxiu had talent, but there was always room for mistakes. But, it could have been problematic if Gu Yangchen's reputation changed in people's eyes because of the duel. Especially at his current age. That's why Gu Changjun sent Gu Jieliub. If Gu Yangchen accepted Gu Jieliub's duel, then he's just showing his stupidity. And if he rejects, that could also work in Gu Changjun's favor. But he was too late to realize, Gu Yangchen had already become a problem. A rather big one at that. Jieliub. Yes, my lord. What would you do if you were to face a huge boulder in front of you while you're trying to reach a destination? I would look for a different way. Wrong. You won't be able to achieve anything like that. You would only reach a wrong destination like that. Gu Jieliub looked down as he couldn't make eye contact with Gu Changjun's dark, cold eyes. It's fine if you can push it aside. In that case, all you have to do is just break through it. But now was not the time. It was too early. Nothing was prepared. If it keeps going like this, I'll have no choice but to break through. Gu Jieliub was trying his best not to show that his body was trembling in fear. *******, too far. The second elder talked to me after I was done washing myself after the duel. About what? At the end, what were you trying to do to Jieliub? I was going to break his arm. Just enough to make him bedridden for a month. Martial artists had fast regeneration due to the qi inside of their body. So I thought it wouldn't cause any problems. The second elder gasped after hearing me. If you did that, then the first elder would have freaked out. Then what? I have no intention of becoming the Lord anyway. Why are you saying something like that? You have the blood of the Lord, and you are the only. Yes, the only son. Which is the only reason why I'm allowed to set foot in the clan. I was aware of this fact more than anyone else. I've experienced it so much in my previous life. No matter what I did, no matter how I lived, I ended up becoming the young lord. Would this life be any different? I'm hoping it's a bit different. Yes, so I didn't do it in the end. If I had the choice, I wanted to give my stupid lord position to that Gugilia brat. The position of a lord wasn't something that garnered my interest. I knew what becoming the lord meant. Under no circumstances would father give the lord position to Gu Hebe or Gu Yancio. I knew that as well. This wasn't because of how I was the son, it was just the way things worked. I find the first elder laughable. He doesn't know anything about me, my ambitions, my goals, and here he is trying to take something away that I never wanted in the first place. The one that really wanted to run away was none other than me. However, I still need the name of the clan. When will I be able to let it go? I have so many problems piled up right now that I suppressed this conundrum in the depths of my mind. Young master. Here, your clothes. YCOL.A came over to me with clothes as if she was waiting. While I was wearing the clothes, I looked at YCOL.A. I wonder when she starts to learn how to wield a sword. A disciple of the Sword Emperor, that's what she was called, so I'm sure she would learn from him. But instead, she's with the servants all day and is learning how to clean and cook. Is it really the best idea to teach a Zenith how to do housework? Where did your grandfather go? My grandpa said he's going to make a bear. Bear? What bear? If you're talking about bears, we have one near us already. The second elder. I quickly glanced at the second. He seemed to have noticed what I was thinking as his eyebrow raised a little. I quickly averted my gaze. He said he's going to make an eagle, chick, and a bear. Are you talking about those wooden sculptures outside? Yeah. I noticed one day that wooden sculptures of animals started to appear outside. The Sword Emperor made all that. It was sculpted so well that I thought he bought it from somewhere. The future Zenith, she is learning how to do housework. And the current Zenith, is making some wooden sculptures. Is this all right? Doesn't seem right to me no matter how I look at it. You sculpted it so well, Grandpa. I looked at YCOL.A's face while she was pointing at the wooden horse sculpture with a smile. Did she always have this kind of personality? Her personality differed so much from the YCOL. I knew in my previous life. I always told myself that she's like this because she was still young, but it was still weird to think about. The first true meeting I had with YCOL.A in my previous life was the winter of this year. What was YCOL.A like then? Was it the same as now? Why can't I remember? I don't know, what was this faint memory I had? The YCOL.A I faintly remembered was a lot different compared to now. If a sharp sword had the appearance of a human, it would resemble her. If you went anywhere near her you'd get cleaved in half. Someone that pushed everyone away with an icy gaze. Are you crying, young master? I was shocked at YCOL.A's words, so I quickly rubbed my eyes. There weren't any tears. What do you mean crying? You scared me. No. It looked like you were crying. I'm not. Now go over there and eat yagua. I bonked her head with my fist and YCOL.A ran away after a short scream. I heaved a sigh as I watched her back. The second elder laughed at the sight. You guys are having so much fun while playing. Does this look like playing to you? Is it not? Now that you say it, it kinda does look like it. I wasn't fond of the second elder who looked at us like we were his cute grandkids. Lord Second Elder, are you going to accept my request as promised? The second elder put on a sour face upon hearing my words. I guess I have to since I gave you my word. What are you going to request? I only had one request. I had to go to Sichuan during this month, so I was going to ask him for help. If anyone knew of a way for me to get to Sichuan, he would be the one. Of course, I still had to make up an excuse, but this way was the fastest way. But the second elder's face was strange after he heard my request. As if he didn't understand. Was it because of how I wanted to go to Sichuan? It's hard for me to tell you the reason why I have to go to Sich. No, that doesn't matter but, That doesn't matter. Doesn't it matter? Why isn't he thinking about that? The second elder continued to speak. This old man can't really understand your request. The words that came after were even more shocking. Can't you just run away? Why are you trying to look for a way? This just made me realize how the old man lived when he was young. Asterisk 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 slice, slice. An elderly man was sculpting something with wood. It was none other than the Sword Emperor. Sculpting was one of his hobbies. You came. Lord Gu. How have you been, senior? The one looking for the Sword Emperor was the lord of the Gu clan, Gu Qilan. The request you made. The beggar's sect seems to have found some clues. The Sword Emperor's hands froze upon hearing Gu Qilan's words. It was supposed to be good news for the Sword Emperor. But after seeing Gu Qilan's face he asked, "What's the matter, Lord Gu?" Gu Qilan's expression showed that something bad had transpired. After a momentary pause, Gu Qilan spoke. The immortal healer is currently at Anhui province. Crack. The knife in the Sword Emperor's hand shattered upon hearing Gu Qilan's words. Qi emanated from the Sword Emperor's body shortly after. It could be dangerous, so Gu Qilan quickly surrounded the area with a Qi barrier. So, the Sword Emperor's voice quivered intensely. You have to come to that conclusion, Lord of Heaven. Gu Qilan closed his eyes. The Sword Emperor was crying. Chapter 22. Why is he venturing out again? 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is he venturing out again? 2. Come back after you have gotten some rest. You're going to die at this rate. Those were the words Nguyen heard from the leader of his swordsman squad before becoming an escort. Nguyen swung his sword every night in order to forget that memory. Yet, they would never fade away. Martial artists, who had no will of their own other than performing their art. Yet, those memories were like shadows, ink on the page. Nguyen's sword was similar to that. That was the essence of Nguyen's current sword. A hollow sword that had no purpose. He was just swinging it. That's why no matter how many hundreds or thousands of times he swung the sword, the memory would never fade away. A prodigy of ancient Gu clan. Besides the first elder's grandson, Gu Jiliub, Nguyen's talent was definitely that of a genius. It was said that Nguyen would have become the first one to reach the peak realm in ancient Gu clan's history. Come to think of it now, it was all useless. We're all first-rate martial artists that obsessed with rank. Nguyen still couldn't understand himself. Why did I come this far, for what reason? What is left for me? I still remembered the members of the swordsmen who screamed desperately for help. What is my purpose of wielding a sword? A swordsman served to protect with their sword. And yet, I couldn't protect them. Then who am I? That I didn't know. I lived like a crippled man. It went on like that until I received the order from the leader. I can't let a martial artist like you rot here like this, not in the current situation. So, this is the best place for me to send you. Go there and take it easy. The place I was sent to was the escort squad. An honorable position, protecting the direct descendants of Gu clan. Yet Nguyen didn't look at it that way. Report each and every one of their actions. That was the order he received as soon as he had joined the escort squad. Why? Am I really protecting them? In Mian's eyes, the escort team existed in order to observe, rather than escort. But he didn't object to the order. Was he in any position to? Mian couldn't figure it out. Mian gets assigned to who he will be escorting shortly after. He was the third and only son out of the 4 children of Gu Yangchen. The first impression wasn't all that good. Every descendant of Gu clan was exactly like that. His sharp eyes and mouth showed that he'd have a bad temper. I didn't talk to him much, but I could definitely tell that he didn't have a good temper. Not just that, but he was arrogant as well. Nice to meet you, young master. You're the escort. Yes, my name is Mian. Oh my, I told them to bring me a woman, they suck at their job. Pardon. Don't talk to me, you're annoying. Go sit in a corner and don't let me see your face. No wonder why a fellow senior of the swordsman squad gave me a yagua. What is this for? If he starts to get angry, just listen with one ear and let it out the other. Give this to the young master. Things will be slightly better after that. I was thankful to the senior for that advice. Thanks to him, I was able to deal with the young master a bit more effectively. I didn't know if it was the leader's intention, but after spending a week with Gu Yangchen, I wanted to return to my swordsman squad. The new job was easier physically, but it was much harder mentally. Then one day the second elder was looking for Gu Yangchen. Then Gu Yangchen ran away to the streets as soon as he heard the news. Do I have to stop him? I thought about it for a short moment. To be honest, I was more scared of Gu Yangchen's outrage than the second elder's scolding. So I just followed him out to the streets and quietly observed him. Gu Yangchen didn't particularly do anything outside. He was just watching people as they walked by, going on with their lives. To my surprise, the air around him seemed to change into this desolate silence. What was he thinking? Usually, he had a bad temper, yet, sometimes certain deep emotions would come to surface. Immense regret and mollifying sorrow lingered across his face. However, at the same time, his face seemed peaceful and resigned. The only word that I could think to match the expression that was lingering on his face was, surrender. Why did the young master, who was destined to become the Lord, give up? I couldn't comprehend what pain that boy was going through. I didn't really want to pry any further either, as I wasn't in a position to anyway. Then one moment, the air around Gu Yangchen changed. To put it into words. I unconsciously placed my hand on the hilt of my sword. I heard from many others that I had good senses. I quickly scanned the area with my eyes but didn't feel any threat. What was this prickling feeling I had? The feeling even gave me the chills. But it didn't last long. Want a potato? Her face wasn't really visible, but a kid that seemed to be around the same age as Gu Yangchen appeared in front of him with a basket full of potatoes. The prickling feeling around the area disappeared. Was that kid responsible for the feeling? There was no way, but it was better to be safe than sorry. I went closer to Gu Yangchen, ready to draw my sword any moment. Young master. Shockingly enough, Gu Yangchen was eating the potato that the child handed to him. The boy that would always flip the table when the dishes weren't to his liking, that Gu Yangchen was eating a potato. The child's appearance was even more problematic. The clothes she was wearing were tattered and dirty. I didn't know when Gu Yangchen would burst into anger like the time when he would throw his clothes away after wearing it once. I had to send the kid away immediately. How dare you? You got any yaguas? Do you have any yaguas? Why was he suddenly asking for yagua? I wanted to say that he greedily ate all of them on our way, but I couldn't say it out loud. Thankfully, there was one more yagua when I searched my pocket. Learned martial arts only to become an escort that brings yaguas, that was what I thought at that moment. Gu Yangchen took the yagua from me. I thought that Gu Yangchen would eat it in order to cleanse the lingering taste of the potato. You want to try this? He offered it to the child instead. I obviously thought that Gu Yangchen would curse the child out after eating the yagua. That was the Gu Yangchen I had always known. But he changed. He was even apologizing to her, saying that he would give her more if he had more. I just couldn't understand the situation at all. I need to check where the sun rises tomorrow. Whether it was west, east, south, I had to check. The child that was happy after getting the yagua disappears with an old man shortly after. The weird thing is that only a few days later, the girl and the old man I saw in the streets were now working at Gu Yangchen's place. That day was definitely the starting point of when Gu Yangchen started to change. Gu Yangchen started to train. Even training alone was surprising news, but he was also training at a high skill level too. He trained to the point where even I would sometimes be in awe. He also changed his attitudes towards the servants. Not that he was kind to them or anything, he just didn't show any care. Whether they worked hard or made mistakes, he didn't care. The servants jubilated, saying that it felt like heaven. A lot of things had changed. Did he really change? I often thought about the expression on Gu Yangchen's face. That expression concerned me constantly. It felt like he was living while hiding something. As if a kid in mid-teens would have something important to hide in the first place. Maybe he didn't change, but more like that's his true self. But what for? I didn't know. When I ventured out to the streets with Gu Yangchen again. He navigated through streets and alleys to find the Hao clan. For what reason does a person from the orthodox factions involve themselves with an unorthodox faction, and how did he even find out about this place? I couldn't understand anything. Gu Yangchen even spat out information about the Lord of Hao clan. I was so shocked that I almost drew my sword too late. The swords of Hao clan's guards were faster than I expected. But Gu Yangchen didn't even flinch one bit despite all the swords pointed at him. How could he stay calm like that? I suddenly got reminded of the leader's words when he would get drunk. You know, the clan of Gu isn't all that bright and sunshine as you may think it is. Don't delve too deep into it though, you might not be happy from what you come across. My mind was in a complicated state when I was reminded of that. After emerging from Hao clan, Gu Yangchen bought a ton of yaguas as if nothing happened. With all my money at that. Still never got the money back. When we returned to the clan, Gu Yangchen requested that I keep all of this a secret as this was strictly his personal business. I replied that I would comply. But I had to report everything that happened. When I was writing everything in the report, I couldn't understand myself. All I had to do was just write it. That was my job. But why wasn't I able to write it? The answer was simply my guts. My guts were telling me that I shouldn't write it down. But for what reason? What was the problem? My mind was a mess. In the end, I only wrote that he only went to the Hao clan, but didn't write about the Lord of Hao clan. It was a difficult night. Not being able to understand anything myself just made it worse. I suddenly felt the urge to swing my sword. So, I went outside and grabbed my sword. How many months has it been since I felt the desire to swing my sword? It felt different than when I swung without any will. Who am I? Who was Gu Yangchen? What is the Gu clan? I asked all those questions to my sword and it replied. Just like that, I was enlightened for the first time in a few months. That made me feel joy like a child. I even bragged about it to the old man, who was sweeping Gu Yangchen's place. My head felt refreshed. I think I can go back now. I felt like I could return to being the swordsman. This could be thanks to Gu Yangchen. I felt thankful to Gu Yangchen who never asked what I was so agitated over, despite him noticing it. That's why I also couldn't talk to Gu Yangchen about what his complications were. Why he wore the mask of scumbag and eventually decided to throw that mask away. What was Gu clan's secret? I didn't dare to think about it. So, I was about to request to return to the swordsman squad. Sichuan. But they told me to go to Sichuan. Why? The military exhibition of the Tang clan. A day has passed since the second elder absurdly told me to just run away. When I complained to him saying running away was absurd, the second elder looked at me disappointedly and went to find a way to get me to Sichuan. Which is how he brought up the idea of the military exhibition of Tang clan. We get an invitation every year, but it wasn't something I was fond of going to. The military exhibition was one of the events the Tang clan hosted. And this was an event hosted in order to showcase their military prowess. That starts around this time. Once or so, I've attended the event in my previous life using the status of young lord. I remember a lot of cool-looking weapons being displayed there. It's going to start in about 15 days, so it would be right for me to leave now. I barely had enough time to travel such a long distance. Can I really reach secret vault of the Golden Nature clan of Sichuan in that short amount of time? But how did you get the approval? The reason why I attended the event previously was so that I could make my face known to the Tang clan after I've become the young lord. It was unexpected to hear that I was allowed to leave for almost a month. It wasn't easy for a descendant of Gu clan to do that. It was only possible before because I was the young lord then. The second elder laughed. I just have to do a favor for the Gu clan. You are going that far. What kind of favor will he be doing where it would be easy? I honestly thought he would just send me off in a random carriage that was on its way to Sichuan. I mean, it's still better than running that is running away. I got goosebumps realizing that I just had the same thoughts as the second elder. I'm at least better than this old bear of a man, yes. Of course I am. The promise was made already, and Yangchen. Yes. I don't know why you are trying to go to Sichuan, but you are the direct descendant of the Gu clan. Mark that in your head and act appropriately. He was basically telling me not to cause any trouble. I made a rather strange look upon hearing his words. They would have been more persuasive had it come from a different person. But it was really unrealistic to hear the second elder telling me not to cause any trouble. What is that face you're making? This old man is suddenly getting the urge to hit you in the top of your head right now. You looked so amazing a moment ago that I became speechless. Anyway, things went nicely, even if I failed to find the secret vault of Golden Nature clan. If that happens, I want to make sure that Gaichen clan doesn't get a hold of the vault in any way possible. So, when do I leave? What do you mean when? You need to leave now. Pardon. What is this man saying? How can I leave if I didn't even prep? I told the servants to get everything ready, so you should be able to leave now. Oddly, the preparation were done rather quickly. What about my opinion? You seem to want to go as soon as possible, so this old man got everything ready. Isn't soon a bit too soon? The trip is long, so wouldn't it be better for you to go and return home early? He wasn't wrong, but it still felt a little bit odd. I saw Muyin approaching from afar. Muyin had a blank face as if his soul escaped from his body. Why does that guy look like that now? It looked like he was going to the carriage without any choice, ordered by the second elder. The crew included Muyin and some servants. Why Seol Dara wasn't in the carriage? I was worried that she might be, but thankfully she wasn't. But do I leave without saying anything to her? I feel like she'd be sad if I did that. I was going away for almost a month. It was indeed easier for my mind to leave her here, but I couldn't see her for a month. But can I really leave just like this? Shouldn't I at least tell the go? This old man has taken care of everything. Now set off. He crammed me in the carriage and then closed the door. What kind of farewell is this? I couldn't finish my sentence. The carriage had already started going. Just like that, the carriage set off, leaving the clan behind. After the carriage had left, the second elder turned around and headed towards Gu Yangchen's place. Now let's talk, senior. Even though there seemed to be no one inside Gu Yangchen's place, the Sword Emperor was waiting for him there. The smile he always had on his face was gone and only his cold eyes remained. About what? About why the Lord requested me to do such a thing. The second elder settled down in front of the Sword Emperor. The huge size of the second elder was incomparable to the Sword Emperor. It seemed like the second elder would be able to easily pin him down with his weight advantage, but the second elder knew to never judge a book by its cover. In that small vessel, he contained the strength of the heavens. The Sword Emperor, despite the title he was given, didn't even need a sword at the state he was currently in. About why you are desperately searching for the immortal healer. I'm curious. The Sword Emperor didn't say anything but just stared at him. Then the second elder let out a sigh. He knew that he wouldn't respond to his question. Then I'll ask a different question. The second elder took a sip of tea. He slowly gulped it down and spoke again. Your granddaughter, what is she? The cold eyes of the Sword Emperor turned to the second elder. That child. Their gazes clashed against each other. Is she even human? The Sword Emperor's chi engulfed the room like a raging storm upon hearing the second elder's words. Chapter 23. Why is he venturing out again? 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is he venturing out again? 3. Gu Yangchen's residence shook down to its foundations, a result of the Sword Emperor's raging chi. The second elder, noticing what was going on, quickly erected a chi barrier around the mansion. The saying that dragons get bigger as they age wasn't a lie. A bead of sweat slowly rolled down the second elder's face, down to his chin, and then trickled down to the ground. The Sword Emperor had failed to control his emotions and let out a tiny bit of his chi, and the result of it was the residence they currently inhabited being almost wiped off the face of the world. This was the power of a heavenly venerable. You are crossing the line, Gu Ryan. No. You know exactly what I meant when I asked that question. The sight that a high-ranking martial artist could lay his eyes upon was far and wide. If a high-ranking martial artist like the second elder used all of his chi, he would be able to read at least half of the people within the Gu clan. It wasn't possible to read every move of people like the Lord of Gu or the Sword Emperor, but he would be able to read the others within the clan. It was also possible for martial artists to read into people's existences. Doviko, and that was how the second elder found out. You definitely already know this, so why are you pretending to be ignorant? The second elder thought about why Seol. As he spoke, she was unbelievably beautiful, but she was also different, unnatural even, to the second elder's eyes. She was hollow. The things that should have existed within the body of a human were nowhere to be found in Seol. Things like common sense and fear. Humans were supposed to feel emotions, but Seol. Seemed to possess none of them. Instead, something else had filled up the void inside of Seol. Whether it was light or darkness, not even the second elder was able to gaze into that far. But if it was the Sword Emperor, wouldn't he be able to see? That child, what is she? My granddaughter is human, Gu Ryan. The Sword Emperor slammed down on the table with his hand, and it immediately splintered into pieces. But that wasn't all. The Sword Emperor's chi exploded at the same time as his palm strike, and the second elder, who had been channeling some of his own chi to keep Gu Yangchen's residence intact, was forced to face the full brunt of the Sword Emperor's chi with no proper defense in place. However, he didn't show his pain. While clamping down on his teeth to stop even the lightest groan from leaking out, the second elder swallowed back the blood that had surged up to his throat, and after doing so he continued to speak. If you find the immortal healer, do you think that you can fill the empty void within that child up with something else? The immortal healer was said to be a doctor, who was sent down to this world by the gods themselves, but could even someone with their abilities do such a thing? Even someone like the King of the Shadows, the one who controlled the Night Reapers as his limbs, couldn't compare to the void inside Seol. One thing that the second elder still struggled to comprehend, however, was what exactly was filling up the empty void within Yseal. It was distinct from the ordinary chi that every human possessed. What could that be? Humans felt fear, and the second elder definitely felt fear inside of Yseal. But it wasn't the sort of fear he was familiar with. He didn't know what exactly was inside of her. He was curious, but he didn't intend to pry further with the intent of figuring it out. His instincts told him that inside of that child was a vault that he shouldn't dare to open. Is that why you are living while hiding yourself from people? Because you are afraid that she might be discovered. What would happen if other martial artists took a glimpse inside of Yseal just like he had done? First and foremost, there were only a handful of martial artists of sufficient rank who had the capability to see through her. However, few did not mean none at all. If and when the Sword Emperor ran into a martial artist who could glimpse into the secrets inside her, what would happen then? How would they describe the nothingness that resided inside of such a seemingly normal girl? Looking at the Sword Emperor's face, it seemed like that wasn't the only reason why he was hiding, but the second elder knew that he wouldn't be able to ask any more questions. He could feel them, multiple invisible blades were being aimed at him from different directions. And, while the Sword Emperor himself had nothing in his hand, the second elder knew with unfailing certainty where the blades originated from. Is this the Mind Sword, the highest rank martial art of a sword wielder? The second elder didn't know, as he himself wasn't a sword wielder. Thus, if I ask any more, you will cut me to pieces without any hesitation. Gu Ryun, you are only alive right now because of what you have realized, so don't be sad. I don't know what you are thinking, or why you are traveling with that child. And, to be honest, I don't really care. He had no concerns about what others thought. It was already hard trying to live his own life. Those were the second elder's thoughts. The old you wouldn't even be worried about this. To the eyes of the second elder the Sword Emperor looked like a man on the run. The second elder who had thought that the Sword Emperor was a blade that would never rust, now felt that the man before him was slowly breaking down. He was the boundless sky above the Orthodox faction, the pillar that carried the Orthodox faction. Those were titles that he'd borne, and he had deserved all of them. The second elder had, at one point, even looked up at the small man who possessed the strength of the heavens within him reverently. But now, there seemed to be a slight crack in that boundless sky. The second elder kept talking while staring at the Sword Emperor. If you say that the child is human, then I will accept that, and will treat her the same way. If you choose to continue to look over her, then you do that as well. However, the second elder at this point, rose to his feet and then turned away from the pieces that remained of the broken table. He had to leave for Namgung in order to fulfill the Lord's request. Do not have any regrets later because of the decisions you have made now. There is nothing more pathetic than that, I'm sure that you know this more than anyone. Shortly after the second elder had left, the Sword Emperor's raging chi slowly calmed down. After he had withdrawn the sharp chi that he had spread around the room, the Sword Emperor rubbed his face. That child, is she even human? While the words of the second elder continued to echo in his mind. Was she human? She was indeed a human. The demon realm. That was where the Sword Emperor had brought Yseal from. He erased the memory from back then. When he had first met the child, when the child first said his name, when they walked around while holding hands, all of those moments told the Sword Emperor that she, Yseal, was human. No matter what Yseal had within her, and even if she was destined to be at the center of the world's disaster, none of that would matter if he slashed that destiny away. That was the sole purpose why he was wielding his sword. That was the reason why he swore to his sword. No matter what Yseal was, no matter what disaster came after her. The Sword Emperor would sacrifice himself without any hesitation if it was for his granddaughter. The Sword Emperor slowly and carefully collected the pieces of the table he'd broken. I'm sorry, He was feeling more and more lacking in recent times because of how easy he had found that it was for him to lose control of his emotions, even though he had lived such a long life. So what if YCOL.A wasn't a human? All he had to do was fill her up with something that represented humanity. If need be, he would even give up his life for it. The Sword Emperor was prepared for that moment. However, at the end of the day, the Sword Emperor was too late in noticing that YCOL.A was missing from the clan. After a bit of time had passed since we'd set off on the carriage, my butt started to hurt a little. When I looked outside, I saw that the sun had already set. A little more, and the carriage would need to take a break as we were reaching a wood. The carriage came to a halt after a while, and we started preparing our camping area. It was a good spot, thanks to a small lake being located nearby. Was it because I had been sitting down all day? My body felt stiff. For some reason, Million was making a hollow face, and after a while, he simply disappeared with his sword after telling me that he was going to find a spot to train. However, he'd said that he would be back before it was his turn to watch for the night, so it would all work out, I guessed. How much longer till we reach Sichuan? It would at least be a few days. Like always, it would take a long time to travel in this stupidly vast land. There was a good reason why the Murim Alliance in the past had tried to tame the demons that were able to fly. Of course, they had failed, just like they had done with the green-horned hounds. The conclusion that the Murim Alliance came to after that was that it was impossible to tame any kind of demon. The only exception is the heavenly demon. It had been sort of ironic, seeing the heavenly demon do so easily something that the entire Murim Alliance couldn't do despite them researching it for numerous years. The heavenly demon had been able to tame demons. Just their breath was enough to control the demons. A demon that looked like it could swallow a clan in one bite was just akin to a sheep to the heavenly demon. In my previous life, when the demons invaded the Mount Hua sect, the heavenly demon had appeared while riding a huge demon. How does it make sense to tame a demon in the first place? Is someone that's able to do that really human? Just thinking about it gave me the shivers. I had to stop thinking about it, as I had other priorities to worry about. I channeled and directed my chi around my body after putting aside the useless thoughts to a corner of my mind. I may have been training consistently in recent times, but the chi I possessed was too little for me to improve quickly in such a short span of time. It felt like it would take me forever to reach the third realm in the flame arts. My physical body was one problem, but the most important issue was the amount of chi that I possessed. It was something that I had felt while fighting Gujiliub. Because of the lack of chi, I couldn't do the things that I had knowledge on. This could be really problematic and possibly even life-threatening in real combat. I stepped forward with my left foot and punched the air. Pow! The sound of air exploding followed my fast-moving fist. And, just doing this much made me feel like all of my chi was leaving my body, but I persevered and continued. From arms to legs and then back to arms. Because of my stiff body, I couldn't make the natural movements I was gunning for, but I still had to move as fluidly as I possibly could. Martial skills were skills that became possible to use when the body remembered the exact sensations. It didn't come easily to martial artists who weren't quite ready to learn that certain skill. Simply put, in order to learn a martial skill, you had to train like hell. After a while of training where I repeated the same movements numerous times, the underside of my belly tingled slightly. That meant I was out of chi. Phew, I let out my last bit of chi as if I was pooping out the last bit of shit. I had only trained for a short amount of time, but my body was drenched in sweat. The lack of chi was really holding me back. In my head, I kept getting reminded of the demonic absorption skill. This skill was the most comfortable as well as the fastest way to increase my chi. If I didn't utilize this skill to absorb chi, then there weren't any other ways that I could think of or recall through which I could increase my chi. However, I don't want to go back to that shithole after I've just escaped it. It was still a skill owned by the heavenly demon, regardless of whether or not demonic chi was being absorbed when I used it. Absorbing chi from only 2 demonic stones didn't give me confidence that the skill was safe to use. And my goal of not wanting to get involved with any more of them was a big factor. Now is not the time. Not yet. This was a curse. If resurrection was a blessing, then this was a curse. I had to at least make sure that it was safe before I started to use it. How long has it been since I started training? I think it's been around an hour. When I stopped training and stopped my fire chi along with it, the air around me felt rather cold. I usually wouldn't feel this cold because of my fire chi, but I think that the sweat made me feel even colder than normal. I went back to the camping area, requested for clean clothes, and then went to the lake. As much as I wanted to just lay down after I'd eaten, I had to restrict myself in order to show my self-control as a child of a royal clan. As soon as I was about to put my foot in the lake, Kaya. My head turned to the shrill sound of a scream. It had come from the carriage. I wondered about what might have happened as I quickly ran over to where the carriage was. Did some sort of bandit group ambush us? I thought they had all vanished after the demon gate appeared in the world. When I arrived at the carriage, a servant was standing in fear while looking at it. What's the matter? Other escorts were also there, along with Muyan. I saw something move inside the carriage. The servant's voice trembled in fear. Inside the carriage. Did some beast barge in after smelling the food inside? Hopefully, it was an animal that we can cook and eat. An escort quickly brought over a torch to brighten up the inside of the carriage. Then something inside the carriage moved. It didn't look like any kind of beast, so the escort drew his sword. And what was inside the carriage was, It was none other than Yseol who had a carrot in her mouth. I couldn't let out a word after looking at what just happened. What suddenly brings you here, again? Sigh, my life. Such a fucked up event happening now gave me my first headache in a long while. Chapter 24. The Demon Sword, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Demon Sword, 1. Early in the morning, while Gu Yangchen was preparing for his trip to Sichuan alongside a few of his servants, Yseol was doing housework with the other servants. She had started to have a little bit of fun with her chores as she got more and more used to the housework. Although she had started getting compliments from the other servants due to the care that she put into her cleaning, which contrasted greatly with her clumsy personality, she was still terrible at cooking. Say, Seol. You can't hold the knife like that. Hurry up and stop her. She's gonna cut her hands at this rate. Smack. Oh my God, she chopped the chopping board. The fire. We have to turn the fire off first. Bring me water, water. No. The potatoes turned black. The Yseol. Who was always complimented by the servants, had been forced to stand against a wall while holding both her hands up as a punishment, a well-known story to those who hadn't been present that day. After that event, the servants were ordered to ensure that Yseol never cooked again. Although Yseol had been sad for some time because of what happened, her mood had brightened up when the servants said that they would teach her when she grew older. Seol. Can you bring me the laundry? Yeah. Today was supposed to be no different than any other day. The laundry was the first task that needed to be done. As Yseol. Carried the laundry outside, she saw a carriage. Interestingly, it was the same carriage as the one she'd gotten on when she went to the 9 Dragons ceremony. However, as she continued walking, she noticed that there were a number of carriages behind the first one. This either meant that there would be a number of passengers going for the trip, or that the trip itself would be a long one, or both. Yseol. Hopped over to a nearby servant and asked, Honghua, what is that carriage for? Hm. Oh, the young master is going to Sichuan. Young master is leaving. Yes, so the second elder hurriedly prepared some carriages. At this point, a few other servants who overheard the conversation chipped in. You didn't know about this, Seol. I wonder why no one told the direct servant under the young master, probably because Seol. Is too young and still has lots to learn. They'll be gone for a month too, so maybe that plays a part. Ah, that makes sense. A.amo month. A month. An entire month. Why Seol.'s eyes quaked. The young master would be gone for an entire month. Then again, that was normal, right? Why Seol.a couldn't understand why her heart felt so frustrated at what she'd just heard. When are they leaving? They said the young master will leave after he wakes up, so they'll probably be leaving soon. The servant was right, as it was currently around the time that Gu Yangchen usually woke up. Why Seol.a, upon hearing her words, stood with a stunned stillness reminiscent of someone who just received a devastating piece of information. The servant who'd been speaking to Y Seol.a, upon noticing her reaction, caressed the young girl's hair in an effort to comfort her. She then spoke, Seol.a, after we finish the laundry, do you want to follow me and help me move food from the storage to the carriage? Yeah. Want a yagua? Yeah. After they ran through and finished with the laundry, Y Seol.a and the servant started to stock the carriage with food. Is this enough? It is a long trip after all. Won't they stop occasionally and buy more food anyways? I'm not sure if the young master will be fine for a month. Hey, don't you think the young master's personality changed a little after Seol.a came here? That's true, when I accidentally bumped into his shoulder while cleaning, he asked me if I was alright. It was an actual bump. You just didn't brush past him. And he didn't slap you. I know, right? I feel so comfortable while working these days. Is it right for me to feel this comfortable? As the servants gossiped and worked among themselves, the carriage eventually ended up filled with a sufficient amount of food. Y Seol.a then asked the servant named Honghua a question. Will this carriage go with the young master? Yes. Now we just need to prepare their cloth, Honghua. The second elder is here. I'm coming. Let's go, Seol.a. Yes. The servant ran quickly to answer the call, and Y Seol.a was just about to start running after her when, wait. However, a sudden voice stopped her and then she turned around towards the carriage. She glanced around, looking for the owner of the voice, but no one was around her. Who is it? There was no response. Wondering to herself about whether it could have come from the carriage, Y Seol.a crammed herself inside, and, besides the carriage being filled with food, there was nothing else inside of it. There was only enough space for a person to hide in, but even that space was empty. Confused but done with her search of the carriage's insides, she was about to leave when she felt someone push her inside. With nothing to use to hold herself back, Y Seol.a fell helplessly into the carriage and, after a small ow, struggled to her knees inside the cramped carriage space. She quickly turned around after regaining her balance, only to see some carrots and nothing else. There were no signs of the person who'd pushed her into the carriage. Fear gripping her heart due to the absurd set of occurrences that had happened to her in barely 1 minute, Y Seol.a started clambering to get out of the carriage, but then. So, when do I set out? Young master. While within the carriage, she heard the voices of Gu Yangchen and the second elder, and remembered that the young master would be leaving for a month today. She then suddenly had the thought that if she stayed quiet, she would be able to go to Sichuan alongside him. She was confident in her hide-and-seek skills. Even her grandpa, who was good at the game, often struggled to find her. Should I just stay here? She wanted to, but she felt that it would be ultimately a bad idea and shook her head. It was scary to go somewhere without telling her grandpa. And it was equally scary to think about spending a month in a place she knew nothing about, particularly without her grandpa next to her. If I wait patiently, then the young master will eventually come back. After telling herself those words, she prepared to get up. Wait. YCOL.A slipped and collapsed after getting surprised by another sudden voice. It was the same voice from before. Who is it? There was no response again. She felt like she had heard the voice before, but she couldn't figure out whose voice it was. Go. This old man has already done everything. All you have to do is set off. What kind of set off is this? Nay. He. During the short time that YCOL.A had been distracted by the voice, the carriage set off following the sound of the horse's neighing. YCOL.A, feeling the carriage getting further and farther away from the clan, started panicking as she didn't know what to do. What do I do? What do I do? The panicking YCOL.A then felt the sensation of someone patting her head. It was an extremely familiar sensation. YCOL.A strangely felt like she was falling asleep to the sensation. She heard a slight voice as her heavy eyelids began to force themselves shut. Sorry, but take care. When YCOL.A woke up, she was met with carrots in front of her and found that it was already nighttime. So, Gu Yangchen asked YCOL.A after listening to her excuses. You were possessed by a ghost, which is why you got on the carriage, and it's not your fault, you say, huh? Yes. That's right. What about the carrot in your mouth then? I was hungry, and there were only carrots. Sigh. YCOL.A quietly avoided making eye contact after hearing me sigh. Meanwhile, after I had heard all that she had to say, I slowly formed a fist. So, yeah. Do you really think that anything that you've just said makes any sense? A sharp bonk aimed at YCOL.A's head followed by Gu Yangchen's rage-filled shout. Ow wow. What could I do in this situation? There was a troublemaker in front of me, squatting on the floor while holding her head in pain. What can I do about this child? How did she even manage to get into the carriage? We'd set off in a hurry, so how was this possible? I wasn't exactly sure how powerful one of those people acknowledged as the world's strongest was. But I knew that they could easily erase a clan without breaking a sweat if they really tried. I didn't know exactly what the Sword Emperor was thinking, but at his level, shouldn't he have been able to see every corner of the entire clan? So, does that mean he knew about YCOL.A going into the carriage? It hurts, it's supposed to hurt. I was partly at fault for leaving without saying anything to her, but it had all happened too quickly. I had no idea that the second elder would cram me into the carriage and see us off so suddenly. Why did you follow us, seriously? I wasn't trying to follow. The ghost really, seeing me about to bonk her head once again as she started to recount her ghost story, YCOL.A immediately ducked and covered her head while murmuring her apology. I'm sorry, I sighed at her pitiful appearance and then lowered my fist. What should I do? Do I need to send her back? I couldn't send the carriage back. To be honest, I was already short on time and couldn't afford to waste any more of it. Can I send her away with an escort? If they walked back, then they would arrive in a few days. But, the fact that it would take a few days made it hard for me to actually stomach the thought of sending them back on foot. I felt like sending them back that way would lead to me having more than a few sleepless nights. YCOL.A, on noticing my conflicted face, grabbed my clothes and spoke, Sita, can I not come with you? I can work hard. I promise that I'll work really hard. So, please bring me with you, young master. As her words came to an end, YCOL.A gradually lowered her head, tears starting to well up at the corners of her eyes. We are going to be away for a while, your grandfather will be worried. Grandpa said I can do anything as long as I listen to you and work hard. Well, the problem is that you're not listening to me right now. It'll also be troublesome to the other servants if they have to take care of Y. Just as I was about to finish my sentence, I glanced at the servants, and what I saw caused my words to die in my throat. Go, COL.A. Beg harder. Thank God, at least COL.A will be here with us. That was basically what their eyes and body language were saying. So, I'm the bad guy here, huh? Is that it? I massaged my temples because of the headache I could feel creeping up. Why do I always have to deal with these sorts of problems? Is my luck actually that shitty? So, why did you really follow me? YCOL hesitated a little but eventually answered. I feel uneasy without you, as if my heart aches. So could you please bring me with you? The tears in YCOL's eyes seemed a lot more evident at this point, like she would actually start to cry at any moment. My heart felt a little ticklish after hearing YCOL's words. But besides that, I wondered why YCOL was feeling that way. I guess you could say that I had given her a lot of yagua in this life. But, I had also worked hard to ensure that I wasn't in her sights for any longer than I needed to be. So why? I didn't know the answer. It definitely wasn't love though. Then again, even if it was love, it was most probably just a childish crush. I told myself that it would be different as time went on. No, it needed to be different. YCOL held me while making a face eerily similar to that of a cat that had just lost its home. I could see that she was about to cry. But even so, I had to send her back. How could I bring her without knowing what would happen in Sichuan? It was too risky, no matter how much I thought about it. I had to find a way to send her away, whether it would be by sending her away along with 2 escorts, or by calling some people from the clan to bring her back. I couldn't let my actions always be affected by YCOL. After all, this wasn't the reason why I returned. I spoke to her with a decisive voice. Just know that I'll send you back if you cause any trouble. Fucking moron. Chapter 25. The Demon Sword, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Demon Sword, 2. After sorting out the issue with YCOL. I hurriedly cooked something we could eat, and then we finished the meal just as quickly. It was too late to prepare anything grand. It was quite amusing to see how much YCOL. Was eating. It was as if she had starved for days. I asked the servants if they knew why she was eating so much, and their response was that she always ate like that. Thinking back, she did eat a frightening amount of potatoes on the day we first met. Either way, with the addition of YCOL. And her appetite, we realized that we would now need to stop at a lot of places to restock on food. A beautiful reflection of the moon could be seen on the surface of a lake located near where we'd camped for the night. We chose this spot as it seemed good for camping, but as the darkness crept in, the night air felt colder than usual, due to the nearby lake. When it was around 11 p.m., the escorts started preparing themselves to keep watch for the night. They placed demonic charms around the camping area and then went about arranging themselves in positions from which they'd be able to easily and effectively keep watch while also retaining good flexibility just in case something actually happened. I was just sitting while staring at the moon when Nguyen came to me. You should go inside, young master. It's getting pretty chilly. No matter how cold it gets, I'll probably still be warmer than all of you. Thanks to my fire chi, the cold air only felt like a cool breeze to me as I sat in front of the campfire. YCOL. Soon hopped over to me after getting something from the servants. On closer inspection, it seemed to be a bowl of dumplings. Dumplings. Why all of a sudden? It seemed like they had just been steamed too, as I could still see the steam coming from the bowl. How did they manage to steam that here? The servant sisters told me to share it with you guys. It seemed like it had been prepared for the escorts. As YCOL. Handed out the dumplings, the escorts smiled at her. YCOL.'s beauty was truly a great weapon. The full-grown YCOL. In my previous life would make enemies surrender with her appearance alone. And, while she definitely didn't possess that kind of beauty right now, she was still cute enough to bring smiles to the faces of anyone who laid eyes upon her. After she was done handing out the dumplings, she took a seat next to me. I brought the young master a big one. While sporting a big smile, YCOL. Offered me 2 dumplings. I accepted the dumplings and spoke to her. Are you sure you don't need to sleep now? You're going to have to wake up early tomorrow. We had to set off as soon as the sun rose tomorrow. It would probably be better for her to sleep now so that she wouldn't get tired tomorrow. You're also not sleeping, young master. Well, I was fine since I possessed a little bit of chi, but Dara wasn't a martial artist yet, so I feared that she might have some trouble. I shook my head and took a bite out of the dumpling. Its soft and moist texture reinforced in me the notion that dumplings were a godsend. As the night gradually got even colder, Muyun stood up and started stretching. I decided at this moment that it was time to go back to the carriage, so I lightly pushed Dada's back. Go now. We will leave you here if you don't wake up in time. You. So mean. The dumplings you gave were delicious. I finished eating the last bit of the dumpling, went back into the carriage, and proceeded to sleep. It's disgustingly far. It had already been 4 days since we left the clan to go to Sichuan. All that had happened within the span of those 4 days was just camping and riding. I did train during those days, but I wasn't able to notice any improvement. I could understand it, however, since it wouldn't be easy to improve my chi just because of slight enlightenments. But that wasn't the main issue on my mind at the moment. Going there is already one thing, what about coming back? It would probably take around the same amount of time. So, I'm supposed to go through this experience all over again. The long journey was starting to take its toll on me, and what made it infinitely worse was the fact that the carriage couldn't even go at max speed due to the bumpy roads. Thanks to that fact, I was granted a first-class view of the passing world, and, for a time, I enjoyed it, until I grew sick of it. Young master. Sigh. What's up? Look over there. Look. It's a squirrel. When I looked at the tree that Dada pointed towards, I saw a squirrel, one that seemed quite busy and content chewing on an acorn. Yeah, that is a squirrel, it's cute. Right. I would often have brief conversations with Dada like this, and, in all honesty, I felt like these small reprieves were a part of the reason why I was still only on the edge of being bored out of my mind. Sometimes, she would talk about how Yagua was tastier than potatoes, or how eagles were tough to eat, or how normal pigs tasted better than boars. Come to think of it, we seemed to only talk about food. Thinking up to this point, I suddenly got goosebumps as I glanced down at a Dada who was pointing towards the squirrel and saying that it looked cute. I couldn't contain my curiosity and had to ask her. Have you eaten squirrels before? Dada made a weird face as she responded to my question. Young master, not even I would eat squirrels. Are you dumb, young master? This was what the look she gave me was asking. I felt bad. In my defense, though, she said that she'd already eaten eagles before. How was I supposed to know that she'd never eaten squirrels? Feeling a little spiteful, I took the yagua that Dada was about to eat and ate it. Dada seemed to take a second to process what had happened, and when she finally did, she made a face that made it seem like the world was ending. It was a really funny face to see on her chubby frame. The amusement made me feel better about the look she gave me. How could you seriously need to stop eating yagua. See how round your face has become. It's not round. Go ask others and see if they agree with that. The servants, who were sitting across from us, had been laughing at the sight. That laughter died out the instant Dada turned towards them, and the moment she opened her mouth to ask her question, they all turned their heads away. They couldn't bring themselves to say it out loud. Dada, however, got her answer from their silence, as immediately tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. I'm a circle, yes, you are a circle. With my last verbal attack, Dada leaned her head against the wall and shut her mouth, defeated. Although, in all honesty, her face wasn't that bad, or bad at all. It was just that, compared to when I'd first seen her, she looked a bit chubbier. So, it's true that she gained weight, right? Regardless of my thoughts on the matter, thanks to her being quiet, I was able to spend some time peacefully. Turning my gaze to the passing view of the outside world again, I thought about the things that could occur in the future. I hope it all goes well. Visiting the Tang clan of Sichuan was already one major task, I still had to think about the Golden Nature and the Gaichin clan on top of it. How much time could I afford to spend looking for the secret vault? I had at most 3 days, much shorter than I had previously anticipated. All of the information I had on hand only amounted to a vague knowledge of the area where the secret vault was located. Honestly, I was thinking of simply telling the beggars sect if I couldn't find the secret vault myself. Or, at the very least, I had to find a way so that groups like Gaichin clan, along with any other group that would side with the demonic cult, wouldn't get their hands on the vault. What if I somehow found the secret vault? I'd think about what would happen after that if I actually ended up finding it. We are running low on food as well. It definitely wasn't because of how YCOL Dada devoured everything. The unexpectedly bumpy roads and the occasional rain along the way had slowed down our carriage, so we still had a fair amount of distance to cover. I poked my head outside of the window and asked Nguyen. Nguyen, how long do you think it will be until we arrive? It would take at least 2 more hours at the speed we are currently traveling, young master. Walking would be faster than that. I thought that it would be better for me to just leave everyone behind and go alone, but I didn't because I would be tired in less than an hour and because of the present that I had to give to the Tang clan. Sai, Nguyen, who had had a smile on his face, suddenly made a sharp look and snapped his gaze to the front of the carriage. Noting his sudden actions, I asked Nguyen, wondering what was up. What's wrong? Stop. The seriousness in his voice matched the severity of his face, and so everyone stopped immediately. At this point, I'd also felt that something was wrong and so I started concentrating my chi. I felt a strange presence, and I unconsciously let out a smirk because of it. It was none other than the presence of demons. I knew it had been too peaceful for the past few days. There aren't that many. We'll quickly take care of it, so please stay inside and rest, young master. Just like last time, he was telling me to stay inside. I didn't know what would happen if I grabbed a demonic stone again, so I planned to stay inside. Thankfully, it wasn't a gate of demons. It seemed more like the leftovers from one. The presence was reaching us at a rapid pace. Are they planning to attack us? But something felt off. SHSHSHSH weird sounds coming from the tall grass alerted us to its movements, and so Nguyen and the other escorts already had their swords out, prepared to slay whatever was coming at so much as a moment's notice. Not long after, something broke through the tall grass and attacked the escorts. Roa.Schwing. Nguyen had cut it in half before it could even finish roaring, and before I myself could even tell what sort of demon it was. Thump. The beast that was slain collapsed with a thump. It was a demon in the shape of a bear. I always thought that the second elder looked like a bear, but actually comparing the beast before me to the second elder made me rethink their similarities. A green-forest bear. Just like the green-horned hound, it was the lowest rank of demon that could come from a gate. This thing, Nguyen spoke while looking at the beast. There is another wound on the beast other than the one I just made. When I checked after Nguyen's words, I noticed that there really was another sword wound other than the one Nguyen gave it. Was the beast actually running away from its attacker? Despite them being attracted to chi, demons were running away from humans, even though all their instincts told them to just slaughter whatever they came across. At this point, I felt the presence of more demons appear around us. But, most of them were disappearing seconds after they appeared. It was like someone was killing them from behind. Suddenly, a presence started rushing towards us. It was fast, and it was coming straight at us. Nguyen had been shaken by what he'd sensed alongside me, but the approaching presence jolted him awake and saw him quickly assume his battle stance alongside the other escorts. The presence broke through the tall grass without any hesitation. Roar. It was another green forest bear, and, slash. A swift sword slash saw it suffer the same fate as the first bear to appear. Thump. Blue blood gushed out from the green forest bear that had just been slain, but Muyin didn't pay any more attention to it. His focus instead rested on the tall grass from where this bear had just rushed out, and he spoke as his posture tensed once more. Who is it? Show yourself. A few seconds after Muyin's words, someone really walked out of the tall grass. Whoever they were holding a sword. I wanted to check who it was, but I couldn't see through the person's face, which had been covered with cloth. All I knew was that this person was female due to the shape of their body. She walked towards us slowly and with light steps. As she came closer, my gaze fell on the clothes she was wearing. Leaves and dust were visible on her blue clothing, showing that she was probably embarked on a long journey. As the distance between us narrowed, she sheathed her sword. Muyin, however, still had his sword pointed right at her. On getting close enough, the woman took off the cloth covering her face to reveal her identity. One of the escorts audibly gasped upon seeing her face. She seemed to be younger than 20 years of age, but she looked older than I did. She had light blue hair and white skin that complemented her hair color. Her pointy nose, along with her lips, told me that she was probably one of the most beautiful women in this world. She started to speak while looking at Muyin. I came out here alone, so I did a poor job at slaying them. I apologize. Alone? You mean you were slaying all of these beasts by yourself? I've had pretty bad luck recently. A gate of demons just appeared right in front of me, but some demons ran away while I was slaying others. They ran away. I don't know if it's because of my clan's art, but they often do that. While Muyin was talking with the lady, for a different reason than the escort who had gasped, I was shocked upon seeing her face. It wasn't because of her beauty, no. I saw a small, white writing on her blue clothing. Namgung. Holy, I almost let out a curse when I looked at that. There were a select few people who were able to roam around with that word written on their clothes. And furthermore, there was only one woman who was able to do that. But, why the fuck is she even here? I wiped away the sweat I felt trickling down my forehead before it flooded down my face. I knew exactly who she was. We didn't know each other in this current life, but it was different in my previous life. She was one of those persons that I least wanted to get involved with in this life. Even with my shitty luck, how do things always end up this badly? I forcefully calmed my rapid heartbeat. It wasn't thumping from excitement or love or whatever. Fear. It was nothing but fear. The woman spoke to Muyin with a stiff voice. My name is Namgung by Ah. Are you perhaps going to Sichuan as well? I clenched my eyes and fists after hearing her name. It was truly her. I had to let out a sigh at the words that came after. Then may I travel along? I will pay you in return. No, goddammit. Hell no. I kicked open the door of the carriage and shouted while running at them. Then my eyes and hers met. Her expressionless eyes were the same as the ones from my previous life, which made it even scarier. Demon Sword Namgung by Ah. The woman, who was crazy for swords. The woman, who ended up destroying her own clan after eventually turning into a demonic human. Chapter 26. The Demon Sword, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Demon Sword, 3. This is a story that happened sometime in the past. In a mountainous area, cold corpses were stacked on top of each other. The corpses included members of the Orthodox and unorthodox factions as well as demonic humans. And in the midst of those corpses stood Namgung by Ah, holding her sword and gazing up at the sky. Demon Sword. Namgung slowly turned her gaze towards me. Upon hearing my call, she looked even more fearsome than she already did due to the blood drops splattered across her white cheeks. Then there were her eyes. Those black eyes that held no emotions. Looking at those eyes made me feel like I was looking at nothing but an abyss. You're the only survivor, did you kill the rest? All of the sword wounds on the bodies of both the martial artists and the demonic humans seemed to have originated from none other than Namgung by Dada herself. During the battle, she had slashed anyone who stood in her way, regardless of whether they were an ally or not. After witnessing such a sight, I spoke that I told you that we don't have much time, so what the hell are you doing? Upon hearing my words, Namgung by Dada started walking towards me, her blood-soaked sword particularly standing out as the distance between us narrowed. She didn't seem to have any intent to kill, but, what made Namgung by Dada so dangerous was the fact that she never showed any signs of her killing intent. No matter what. A human that had never let her emotions shake her core. That was what made her such a scary swordsman. Namgung by Dada, now standing right in front of me, wiped at the blood on her cheek and spoke, "There was nothing here, yeah, because you erased it all." Swish. A sudden swing of Namgung by Dada's arm holding the blade saw all of the blood on the sword that it held splatter on the ground. The previously bloodied blade was now pristinely clean. A massive sword arc followed her sword swing, the winds violently stirring in tandem for a brief moment. Namgung by Dada asked me a question after cleaning her sword. "What did the leader say?" "They gave me an order to bring you back, saying that you would probably go on a rampage like a lunatic." "The second part was what you truly wanted to say. That I guess you still have some sanity left in you since you were able to notice that." Namgung by Dada went mad, and to none other than her sword. She sheathed her sword after she was done cleaning it, and then proceeded to move. I let out a sigh after watching her. "You're going the wrong way, demon sword. Where is it again?" "To the left." "That's right." Namgung by Dada finally found the right path after I had corrected her several times. A master that had just killed at least hundreds of people here was now showing a dumb side. It was definitely weird seeing her go into crowds of martial artists and slay them with overwhelming ease when she would sometimes do stupid things like this. Demon Sword, the name really fit her well. Namgung by Dada, who had been slowly walking, stopped her steps. "Hey, what? The Sword Emperor must be strong, right? Seeing as you're asking such an absurd question, I guess I was too quick to think that you still retained a bit of your sanity." I, who had been walking after her, was also forced to cease my steps. I then replied briskly. I spoke to her with a strict voice, as she seemed to be having weird thoughts. "I'll do you a favor this once and remind you, just in case you've forgotten. Don't do anything outside of your boundaries. The Sword Emperor is for our lead." "What would the Sword Emperor's sword be like?" Sigh. "This crazy bitch." I shook my head and turned around, then continued walking. After taking a few steps, I noticed that nobody was following me. Thus, I turned around and witnessed Namgung by Dada quietly mumbling to herself while going in the wrong direction. Do I really have to stop her? I thought to myself for a brief moment. I picked up a rock that was lying on the ground and threw it at Namgung by Dada, infusing a bit of my chi into the rock in order to perfectly aim for her head. The rock I threw dropped to the ground midway through its journey and was cleaved into 2 fragments. "Are you looking for a fight?" Namgung by Dada was looking straight at me with her sword already drawn. This was the only time Namgung by Dada showed her emotions. Her chi had started suppressing the area, which made my body feel quite the pain. I rubbed my face to ease the discomfort and spoke to her. "You are going the wrong way, oh." Upon hearing my words, she quickly sheathed her sword, her overwhelming chi disappeared in tandem. A few seconds later, Namgung by Dada, who had finally seemed to have found the right way, stopped once again. She looked like she was conflicted by her own thoughts. "What now that I was thinking about it?" "About what?" "This isn't the right way, no matter how much I think about it." Namgung by Dada, after saying her part, disappeared from my sight. I rubbed my face once again, this time in frustration, after witnessing her actions. "That's not the right way either, you idiot." I was able to reach the destination in less than a day, and Namgung by Dada, who had ditched me, arrived after 4 days. Everyone's gazes turned to me upon hearing my shout. The eyes of Namgung Bai. In particular, were quite scary. Then again, they only reinforced the thought in me of not wanting to be involved with her even if I died. The name of Namgung, which was one of the 4 noble clans. Her beauty. Her swordsmanship. None of that mattered to me. Her being a psychopath automatically nullified any boon she might have been carrying. Young master. Million looked at me, confused because of the fact I had suddenly run out while shouting curses. I wanted with all of my heart to just shut my mouth, but this was too much for me. Namgung Bai. Inquired while looking at me. You are the leader of this caravan. I felt goosebumps run up my skin the moment I heard her voice. Should I reply to her? Namgung Bai. Not caring about my response, or lack thereof, paid her respects to me. I am Namgung Bai. From Namgung clan. If it isn't a bother for you, then how about we travel to Sichuan Togut? No, we are not going to Sichuan, and yes, it will be a bother for us. Everyone's eyes widened at my instant rejection, with Namgung Bai. In particular tilting her head. It feels like she didn't predict that I would respond in such a way. I guess no sane person would reject a request from someone who came from the Namgung clan, but I had more to say. We cannot be exactly sure that you are from the Namgung clan, and it is dangerous to let a martial artist into our fold without knowing their true identity. Her light blue hair alongside her blue clothes with the Namgung name sewn into them showed that she was definitely hailed from the Namgung clan, but my point could not be argued against. I wouldn't accept her, no matter what. Upon hearing my rejection, Namgung Bai. Said, "Ah," and nodded her head. And then she suddenly drew her sword. Million, who was watching her intently while listening to my words, Million was the quickest to react, as he immediately entered a battle-ready stance. But, Namgung Bai. Just stood there and closed her eyes. I couldn't hide my nervousness upon seeing this familiar sight. This bitch isn't going to. At first, the flow of air changed. It felt like I was standing on myriad blades rather than on solid ground, and the air around me felt like it was just a step away from shredding me into pieces. This feeling was one that I was extremely familiar with due to my previous life's affiliation with the lunatic in front of me. After a few seconds had passed, she slowly opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, her frightening chi instantly spread to engulf the area around us. The few escorts who had been slacking all immediately drew their swords after feeling her chi. However, before any sword could reach her, Namgung Bai.'s chi suddenly disappeared from the area. There were multiple swords that were threatening her at the moment, but Namgung Bai.'s calm face in the midst of it all was truly an insane sight to behold. The appearance of the Sword King. The Namgung clan's appearance and pride were reflected in such a frail-looking lady. I haven't fully mastered it, so this is as far as I can show for now, but hopefully it has proven my identity. Namgung Bai.', in order to show that she was from the Namgung clan, used such a reckless and dumb way to prove it. But it was also the most definite way of showing proof. All the escorts that were standing here were now most likely certain that she was indeed the young lady of the Namgung clan. She had used the clan's iconic skill after all. I nodded my head after hearing her, and then I responded. What an immense chi that was. But there is now zero chance that we will bring such a dangerous martial artist along with us. I apologize. Of course, her proving her identity didn't mean I would change my mind. After safely rejecting Namgung Bai.'s company, we started to move again in order to get to Sichuan. Unexpectedly, Namgung Bai.' didn't say anything to my rejection. She only nodded her head. Was I finally able to put one of my problems aside? I was thankful to the gods. How in all the hells was it even possible that I met her here? I still remembered as clear as day the sight of her slaughtering everything in her path, no matter whether it was an ally or foe. Regardless, why was the Lady of Namgung roaming around here by herself? Sigh. I'm so tired. Just this short meeting with Namgung by had honestly made me feel more exhausted than the 4 days of travel. Young master, what do you want? YCO. Who was calling me, was looking out the window. She seemed to be looking at something. She keeps following us. What? What does she mean by following? No. A scary thought suddenly crossed my mind as I processed the meaning of YCO.H's words. Please no, as if hearing my thoughts, YCO.A spoke again, confirming my nightmare. That pretty lady from earlier, she keeps following us. Oh my God. When I gazed outside of the carriage window, Namgung by was indeed following us from a distance. For fuck's sake, is this what her nodding her head meant? That if we didn't accept, she'd just follow us. I'm seriously going to go crazy. As much as I wanted to curse her out and tell her to fuck off, I didn't have a good excuse to do so. I told her that we were not going to Sichuan, so why is she following us? Does she have the same destination as us? There is no way. I had never seen that insane psycho go in the right direction. Fine, let's just ignore her. Ignoring her is the answer. The problem came when it became nighttime and we stopped to camp for the night. We had finally managed to find a decent area to camp in and set up our campfire, but I saw another campfire not too far away from ours. It was none other than Namgung by I don't know where she got it from, but she was grilling a frog with her campfire. Because of her stupidly absurd beauty, she looked beautiful even though she was just sitting with no thoughts in her head. She was just sitting there, blatantly showing that she was following us. And where in hell did she even get that frog? I turned my head away to ignore her and caught sight of YCO.A running around the place with dumplings. It seemed like the servants had prepared another batch for the escorts. I had heard some time ago what I'd thought was just some bullshit about the escorts' fatigue going away when YCO.A handed them dumplings, but, after experiencing it, I had to say that it was honestly relatable. Young master. Dumpling. I grabbed the dumpling she offered and ate it. Yeah, eating dumplings definitely made me feel better. At least I have you here. I must have had a good appetite, as 2 dumplings disappeared instantly. I felt like I needed to eat more as I wasn't full yet. In order to get more, I searched for YCO.A, but, oh God, no. YCO.A was handing out dumplings to Namgung by Namgung by looked at the dumpling YCO.A offered and showed a super rare expression of surprise. She hadn't expected to be offered anything. Do you also want to eat one? Ah. I immediately stood up and went toward YCO.A. On reaching them, I grabbed her shoulders and pulled her away. What are you doing with an outsider? YCO.A looked sad because of my slightly angry voice. I mean, it's sad to see her trying to eat a frog. She probably wanted to eat it. Don't act recklessly again and go back. Alright, YCO.A walked back with a sad face because of the scolding she received from me. In the midst of this, Namgung by was looking up at me with a dumpling in her hand. After finishing my conversation with YCO.A, I turned my now irritated attention to her and asked. Why are you following us? I just have the same and don't give me that nonsense about us having the same destination. She stopped talking, momentarily stunned, after I cut her off and correctly predicted what she was going to say. I know that you are from the Namgung clan. Then, why didn't you let me join your caravan? I just felt like it. I'm not obligated to accept you into the caravan just because you're from the Namgung clan. Oh, what I don't understand is, why is the precious young lady of the Namgung clan traveling to a faraway place all by herself? I kept getting goosebumps because I was showing respect to Namgung by but I had to endure it as it was needed. Namgung by scratched her cheek with the hand that wasn't holding a dumpling. She seemed a bit awkward. We all set off together, but I lost them midway. I couldn't think how to respond to her. She probably had a lot of people with her, and was in a carriage, so, how did she manage to get lost? If I didn't have experience with her in my previous life, I probably wouldn't have been able to understand this situation. I remembered that she was barely able to tell if her right hand was actually her right hand or not, and vice versa. The demon sword had been blessed by the gods with the ability to get lost in any and every circumstance. We aren't going to Sichuan. Really? I felt like you were. The stupid girl who would always get lost weirdly had good senses in this department. I let out a fake cough and continued to speak. Anyway, I won't say any more about you following us, but please only do that much and nothing more. I felt like this should be enough. No, it had to be. As I hurriedly tried to leave, Namgung Bai Data called and stopped me. Young master. I'm Namgung Bai Data. Yes, I know. A few seconds of silence passed after this, with Namgung Bai Data simply staring at me without saying anything. What does she want me to do with her name? After an awkward moment, Namgung Bai Data once again tilted her head and then opened her mouth as if she had just come to a realization. Now that I've introduced myself, please tell me your name. No, I was going to say no because I felt that if I told her name, I would be involving myself more with her, but then I got a better idea. That my name is Gu Jieliub. Ha! Jieliub, who hails from the Gu clan. Gu Jieliub. Namgung Bai Data nodded her head after hearing the name. The nod felt like she was telling me that she would remember the name. Sorry Jieliub, but it looks like I'm going to be borrowing your name for a bit. I never thought I'd feel guilty towards Gu Jieliub. Chapter 27. The Demon Sword, 4, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Demon Sword, 4. It had been 2 days since Namgung Bai Data joined our caravan. I was finally about to reach my destination. And once I did, I would probably have to go to the Tang clan first. In all honesty, I had expected the trip to Sichuan to be a bit more dangerous than it was. Instead, after we met Namgung Bai Data, we encountered a very small number of demons and didn't really come across any real threat. The trip to Sichuan took close to 10 days. While it was undeniably boring because of how long it was, I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief at the fact that we didn't run into any real problems along the way. Well, aside from the one that was now a part of our group. Sigh, I kept rubbing my face at the sight that made me sigh just by looking at it. Look over there. It's a squirrel. Yes. Have you ever eaten a squirrel before? Yes. Ha. Oh, no. YCOL.A had gotten off the carriage and was having a chat with Namgung Bai Data, who was slowly following us from behind. It was mostly YCOL.A starting the conversation first and then Namgung Bai Data replying briefly, but the fact that she kept responding while walking at the same speed as YCOL.A showed that she didn't mind talking to her. YCOL.A would also grab Namgung Bai Data's clothes every now and then when she was about to go off in the wrong direction with a dumb face. Why are they friendly towards each other? I kept telling her not to go near strangers, but she kept saying she felt bad for Namgung Bai Data and constantly approached her. Why does she feel bad for her? Do I have to yell at her? Sigh, I never would have thought I would see the day when those two would act friendly towards each other. Nguyen. Yes, young master. How long till we? Are you tired? What's up with your face? It's nothing, I'm fine. Fine my ass, you look like you're about to die from fatigue. The reason why Nguyen was so tired was because of none other than Namgung Bai Data. On the first day of Namgung Bai Data's following us, she randomly challenged Nguyen to a duel. Nguyen, without hesitation, denied her challenge. I am the escort of the young master. I cannot afford to put my attention into something else, as I have to do my job as an escort. I apologize. Namgung Bai Data, who was rejected, nodded her head, but she kept looking at Nguyen as if she had found something in him that made her obsessed. No, to put it more precisely, she was looking at his sword rather than Muyin himself. Regardless, due to her constant staring, Muyin had been losing sleep, hence his current situation. Then again, first-rate martial artists wouldn't have been this tired even with some lack of sleep, so, was he tired mentally? That crazy psychopath had this personality ever since she was this young. A lunatic who drew her sword first if she found a martial artist who wielded a sword that amused her. It made sense that all she did was look for the Sword Emperor and other sword wielders in my previous life. She wasn't as crazy now as she had been in my previous life, but she was definitely still a lunatic. She was a bit better right now because YCOL.A was chirping all around her like a baby bird, but I could see that she would still occasionally glance at Muyin's sword. Maybe YCOL.A is talking to her because she noticed that. Nah, no way. There's no way YCOL.A could have noticed that. Well, I couldn't find any bad things that could originate from them being together at the moment, so I just let them be. We were going to arrive soon either way, and then we would part ways. And after that, I just needed to never run into her again. It sounded simple enough to pull off. With that thought, I closed my eyes, thinking about taking a nap. Was it because of the constant training I did? I was able to fall asleep pretty quickly. How long has it been since? I heard the voice of Muyin from outside. Young master, I can see our destination. We finally arrived in Sichuan, after a week of travel. I stretched my stiff body and got off the carriage. It would take around a day to reach the Tang clan from here, so we had to take a rest in order to regain our energy. You would think that it was better to reach the destination first and then rest. The issue was that once we arrived at the Tang clan, they would be prepared to greet us then and there, and so we wouldn't have any time to rest. This was one of the hassles that came with being a member of a noble clan. You wouldn't be able to go anywhere without people greeting you. I wonder if they'll have rooms. We should be able to find some quickly. It was always difficult to find rooms at times like this. We had a good number of people in our caravan, and we wouldn't get any special treatment for being a noble clan in this area. YCOL.A, who had been looking around and feeding her eyes, found something and immediately pulled on Namgung by Dada's clothes, while Namgung by Dada stood still with a dumb look on her face. Hey! She's wearing the same clothing as you. Ah! At YCOL.A's words, Namgung by Dadas and my eyes immediately turned in the direction she was pointing out. Clean blue clothing, unlike the dusty, dirty clothing of Namgung by Dada, and the word Namgung sewn into the bottom of the clothing. They were Anhui's rulers, representatives of the Namgung clan. And they were definitely martial artists. Just as we had found them, it appeared that they had also found us, as surprise could be seen on the faces of those who turned towards us. Then someone from the group ran towards Namgung by Dada. Sis. It was a boy who seemed to be around the same age as me. Besides her dumb look, Namgung by Dada had a cold appearance that made it hard for people to reach out to her, and that boy was basically the male version of her. Namgung by Dada slowly raised her hand as she looked at the boy. Hi. Chanjin. Where did you disappear off to, sister? Do you know how many people from the clan were looking for you? Sorry. I got lost. Namgung Chanjin massaged his temple upon hearing Namgung by Dada's response. That's why I told you to travel with us with ropes tied to you. Ropes. What is she, some sort of dog? Then again, with the number of times she gets lost, maybe, ignorant of my thoughts, Namgung by Dada responded to her brother's words. Still, that's a bit embarrassing. Right, is that why you disappeared after only one day of traveling? You were the one that told us not to be worried about you getting lost this time. Sorry. Namgung by Dada lowered her tail upon hearing Namgung Chanjin's strict words. Namgung Chanjin, who seemed to only now notice us, quickly showed his respect. I am Namgung Chanjin from the Namgung clan. I knew it, this boy was the lightning sword. This boy was the future representative of the Orthodox faction and would also become one of the 5 sword masters of Murim. So right about now, he should be. I am Guya, Gu Gileab from the Gu clan. Are you perhaps the one called the Lightning Dragon? I quickly corrected myself as I remembered the name I had given Namgung by Ah. At my question, Namgung Chanjan's face blushed slightly. It was kind of annoying, seeing such a handsome guy blush. It's a bit embarrassing and undeserved, but I am indeed called that. He was embarrassed, but he was still showing pride and confidence. The 5 dragons and 3 phoenixes. That's what the 8 greatest martial artists were called during this time. This group included my eldest sister, Gu Huibi, the Sword Phoenix. The Lightning Dragon, Namgung Chanjan, I think he was 2 years older than me. I couldn't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure that it was 2 years. I felt someone staring at me weirdly, so I turned around. YCOL.A was looking at me with weird eyes. It probably was because of how I'd given them a wrong name. It looked like there were question marks floating above her head, so I quietly signaled to her to be quiet. She, thankfully, seemed to notice and remained silent. Namgung Chanjan then asked me a question. Ah, a martial artist from the Gu clan. If it doesn't cause you any trouble, may I ask how my sister came to join your caravan? That lunatic randomly appeared with a bunch of demons and then followed us. We met her by coincidence when she got lost, so we decided to travel with her. I couldn't say what I really thought, so I had to put it in a nice way. And then I felt Namgung by Dada staring at me weirdly just like YCOL Dada before. I mentally prayed to all of the gods that she would keep her mouth shut since she had eaten so many of our dumplings along the way. It seemed that I underestimated what a combination of accursed luck and a dumb girl could bring. No. He said alright, young lady of Namgung, it was fun traveling with you. Please be careful not to get lost next time. Of course, I wasn't just going to stand there and let her finish. Namgung Chanjan, on the other hand, smiled and spoke after watching this. Thank you for taking care of my sister. Are you perhaps coming to see the military exhibition of Tang clan? Well. Yes. Namgung by Dada flinched at my response. Was it because I'd lied to her, saying that I wasn't going to Sichuan? I mean, what are you going to do about it? I don't like you. Then did you already find a place to stay? We don't have anything to offer you at this moment, but we can offer you rooms. Let us go together since we have the same destination. Namgung Chanjan offered with a smile, and looking at that smile made me feel like he might have actually rented an entire building. No, I don't want to be involved with you lunatics any longer. I had no intention of accepting the offer. This much was already enough, and I didn't want any more involvement. I expected that Namgung by Ah would attend the military exhibition of Tang clan since she said she was going to Sichuan. But why bring 2 direct descendants of the clan? Whether it was the Lightning Dragon or Namgung by Ah, they were both direct blood descendants of their clan, so what made them both come? Well, that doesn't matter to me. This ends here. I already had a different goal in mind while coming here in the first place, and I had to cut off my involvement with Namgung by Ah. I would, for sure, be able to find a place to stay if I looked hard enough. Mian, who seemed to have just found a place to stay, came over to me right on time. With this reassurance in mind, I immediately spoke to Namgung Chanjan with the intention of denying his offer. Thank you for the offer, but we seem to have found a different young master. There were no rooms nearby. Should we just camp again in the lake area? Was what I was going to say, but since you have offered so sincerely, I can't reject, can I? We are in your debt, young Master Namgung. Fuck my life. I thought that it would have been better to just sleep in the carriage if we failed to find a place to stay. But it would have been problematic for the escorts to camp out at night again. Fine, that was just an excuse. I myself had grown tired of camping outside at night. Namgung Chanjan, after finishing guiding us to the place to stay, pulled Namgung by away and disappeared. I kind of felt bad for Namgung by as she had displayed a rare emotion of fear upon seeing Namgung Chanjin's angry face. It seemed like she was going to get an earful. But it was karma for her, so I didn't really care. What was weird, however, was their relationship. They looked to me like siblings who had no problems with each other. But the demon sword I remembered from my previous life made me think. The first thing that the demonic sword had done after she became a demonic human, was to bring an army of demonic humans and erase the Namgung clan from the world. She made a name for herself in the demonic realm by killing the lord, elders, and even servants of the clan. So what was that sense of togetherness that I got from both of them? I never had a proper conversation with Namgung by in my previous life. The same could be said for the other demonic humans. Everyone had their own goals and desires, which was why they turned themselves to the heavenly demon, so they didn't have any intention of being friends with one another. Because of that, I don't really know about the background of the Namgung by who became the demon sword, not that I want to know anyways. I was tired, so I stood up to go to my room. My room was upstairs, so I was climbing up the stairs when I saw Namgung by coming down from the stairs. Namgung by who made eye contact with me, seemed to be showing me respect, and I was startled by that. What the? Namgung by spoke, regardless of my shock. Thank you for guiding me here, young Master Gu. You did follow us here without our approval. Thank you, let's meet again. No, let's not. Namgung by who looked better than usual, probably because of the scolding she got, passed by me. When I started to go up again, Namgung Chanjin was looking at me. I was thankful for his offer, so I tried to thank him again. Oh, young Master Namgung, but Namgung Chanjin just passed by me while hitting my shoulder, as if my words were being thrown into the night's air. Then I heard a voice from one step below. Know your place. Namgung Chanjin's voice was quite different from his warm voice from before. It was much colder. I was going to let you go the first time, but you truly don't know your place. How dare you talk to my sister? I could feel his killing intent as our eyes met. I'll let it pass this time, but if I see such a thing happen again, then I'll cut through your neck. After speaking, Namgung Chanjin left to go after Namgung by To that, I nodded my head rather than being angry. It was honestly better this way. I knew they were all lunatics. I had never seen anyone normal from the Namgung clan, even with both my current and previous lives combined. That guy, Namgung Chiajin, was just another one of them. And our brief chat confirmed my thoughts about never involving myself with that clan of lunatics. Chapter 28. The Demon Sword, 5, you are listening at novelfull.audio. The Demon Sword, 5. We ended up spending the night at the lodge, and it was now morning. Well, technically speaking, it was still nighttime, midnight, to be precise. But we needed to be up and ready around this time if we wanted to make it to the Tang clan's estate before the end of the day. I stepped out of my room while trying to get rid of the grogginess that accompanied one who had just woken from sleep and was watching the surroundings with an amused gaze when Ycol emerged from the servants' quarters to the side. She seemed to have also just woken up, as she was still drowsily rubbing her eyes, and so I walked over to her and gave her a flick to the head. Ow! Wake up! Hurry and go and wash your face. It hurts, don't be so melodramatic. And what kind of servant gets up after me? The servant sisters left without waking me up. You need to learn to wake up on your own. Sorry, after our small exchange, Ycol went downstairs with small steps. I wondered how long it would take until we could get going. Around 2 hours, I turned my gaze towards the door that had just opened and found that it was Namgung Chanjin. He was dressed up and seemed ready to depart already. However, I frowned as our eyes met. Do I still need to greet him? After what had happened yesterday, I honestly didn't feel like I needed to. His gaze turned sharp upon seeing me, and he opened his mouth, seemingly wanting to say something. But right at that moment, Namgung Bai-Ah stepped out of her room. At her appearance, Namgung Chanjin's expression immediately changed. His visage instantly morphing back to that of the kind and friendly older brother he had shown when we first met. "Young Master Gu, you're up early. How was your night?" "Ugh." I couldn't help but be impressed upon seeing Namgung Chanjin's sharp switch. Where the hell did the Namgung Chanjin who seemed to want to cut me down in two halves with his gaze disappear off to? I was suddenly reminded of Peng Wu-jin. I had thought that he was a lunatic at first, but after seeing the Namgung young master before me, I felt a bit bad for labeling him like that. He might have been insane, but at the very least, he was a nice guy. This Namgung Chanjin, however, was just a straight-up lunatic. Namgung Bai-Ah tilted her head in confusion at my response and then at the fact that we were together. From her eyes, I could tell that she was wondering what exactly was going on. I coincidentally met with young Master Gu after waking up. "You look like you just woke up." "Ah. Yeah, we will be leaving soon, so you should start getting ready. I'll send a servant to your room." "All right." After their little exchange, I felt that Namgung Chanjin was definitely a pro at cutting off people's sentences. The ease with which he consistently cut off his sister mid-sentence showed that this wasn't the first time he had done this. Namgung Bai-Ah gave a short yawn and then returned to her room. And Namgung Chanjin's expression switched once again the instant the door to her room was shut, the sharp gaze he had shown moments before returned. He spoke. "The warning I gave you yesterday, don't forget it." And went downstairs immediately after. As I looked at his departing back, I couldn't help but wonder, was the guy known in the future as the Lightning Sword always like this? Before Namgung Bai-Ah went crazy and wiped out her clan, he had been known as a man who would protect the world as the Lord of Namgung in the name of justice. The people of Namgung were certainly crazy, whether it was their lord or his offspring. The experiences of both my lives did nothing but reaffirm this fact to me. He is fated to be the center of Namgung when he's like that. What a world. I went downstairs shortly after. The Gu clan servants were already gathered together on the first floor. Myoan, seeing me come down, immediately walked towards me. "Young master, would you like to eat?" "I'm not really hungry, the dumplings are really good." "Very well then, I'll eat." The word dumpling seemed to trigger something within me. Seol.ah, who somehow still looked sleepy, was letting the other servants take care of her hair. Seol.ah has such nice hair. Don't you think it's because she's young? I also had nice hair when I was young. Nice. Your hair was such a mess that your brother said that it could be used as a mop. Don't bring that up. I scratched his face when he first told me that. Oh. I asked him where the scar on his face was from, and he told me that it was from a cat. So that cat was actually you, huh? Sister Honwa's hair is a mop. Seol.ah, don't learn to use those bad words. They also seem to be engaging in meaningless conversation, with the half-asleep Seol.ah contributing from time to time. But, why does she have a dumpling in her hand? Does she eat even while sleeping? I shook my head at the picture before me and then followed Myoan to where the dumplings were kept. Upon taking a seat, I grabbed one and took a bite. Delicious. Scrape as I ate, I heard a chair being dragged to my side. When I looked to the side, it was Namgung Bai-Ah. She seemed to have freshened up, but that wasn't the problem right now. Why are you sitting next to me? I think you should be sitting over there, not here. The members of the Namgung clan had gathered on the other side of the room, and logically, Namgung Bai-Ah should have been there with them. The fact that she was here instead caused the clan of crazy bastards to focus their gazes on me, with fire threatening to spew out of their eyes. Namgung Bai-Ah, who seemed oblivious to the situation, grabbed at a dumpling. A grab I quickly intercepted with my chopsticks. Lady, this dumpling belongs to me. And, why are you sitting here again? I just sat wherever the closest seat was. Your brother's stare is about to burn a hole through me. Namgung Bai Dada turned her eyes to her brother in a bid to confirm my words, but all she saw was a kind smile on his chameleon-like face. What a lunatic. Why is he treating me like shit? Did I actually do something that offended him? Namgung Bai Dada gazed back at me, and I could tell that she was wondering what exactly the problem was. I decided to let her be. But stop taking my dumplings, you stupid bitch. I stood up after shoving the last dumpling into my mouth. Namgung Bai Dada remained seated, a forlorn look in her eyes as she gazed at the bowl where the last dumpling used to be, but what could she do about it? As she sat there, looking desolate and disappointed, Old Dada randomly appeared with more dumplings. However, I suspected that the dumplings were hers. It was a sight for the ages, seeing one so crazy about food offer her food to someone else. Particularly in this situation where neither individual would end up satisfied after eating the food. Namgung Bai Dada, seeing Old Dada's gesture, patted her head and then accepted the dumplings. Old Dada gave a bright smile in return and came over to sit by my side shortly after. She tilted her head towards me, seeking pats after doing what she believed was a good thing. I flicked her head instead. Ow. What are you seeking compliments for? Grandpa told me that it's nice to offer food to a hungry person, she would get more than enough food from others even without you. Now go and eat more dumplings. K. Bearing a saddened visage, she walked back to the other servants, who dutifully fed her more dumplings. I sighed after all of this had occurred and then closed my eyes to rest. Nguyen came not long after. Young master, it seems like we'll be leaving soon. We'll be leaving sooner than expected. Is everything ready for the journey? Yes. As soon as we finish our meals, we will bring the necessities and store them in the carriages. It would probably be afternoon by the time we arrived. Thankfully, we were still more or less on schedule. Well then, let's get ready. As I spoke, I noticed that Nguyen's focus was elsewhere. I followed his gaze, and I saw Namgung Bai Dada staring at his sword. Sigh. This girl. Lady Namgung, we already said that we wouldn't accept your duel, so stop staring. Your gaze is making my servant uncomfortable. Following my words, I released Nguyen, unable to continue our conversation in such an atmosphere. Nguyen quickly paid his respects and then disappeared, seemingly relieved at being dismissed. Why are you so obsessed with Nguyen? I turned my gaze to Namgung Bai Dada after Nguyen's dismissal, my gaze understandably irritated. There are many others you can meet. He is a strong swordsman. I feel like I'd learn a lot from him if I exchanged swords with him. Then go do that with your brother who's staring at me like a lunatic. Chanjin is, Namgung Bai Dada paused at that moment, causing me to frown. Shouldn't the lightning sword be really strong? Currently, he should be above Gu Yanxiu and Gu Jieliab. I don't know about Nguyen though. Namgung Chanjin was at a level that I couldn't beat even if I used the same tactic I'd used against Gu Jieliab. Upon thinking up to this point, I paused as I realized something. Come to think of it, shouldn't Namgung Bai Dada be a well-known name as well? The demon sword was an incomparable swordswoman. Before she became a demonic human, she was already an insanely strong person. So, there's no way that her crazy talent for swordsmanship hasn't bloomed by now. I couldn't tell their exact levels, but I was sure that she wouldn't be far behind the crazy guy who was currently giving me a death glare. There's also the fact that she was given the title of Demon Sword. She should have already spread her name as a swordswoman strong beyond her years by now. So, why isn't that the case? Of the ranks, she should at least belong among the 5 dragons and 3 phoenixes. Is there something I'm not aware of? I should stop being curious. Nothing. Enjoy the rest of your dumplings, I'm getting up. I quickly rose to my feet and went outside. Why Seol followed me as if she had been waiting. She had 2 dumplings in her hands and looked like she was about to eat them. You're going to eat too. You might get sick if you keep eating. One is for you. Oh. That's a nice thought. We walked toward the carriages while eating dumplings together. It seemed like my appetite was also increasing, as Seol would always give me something to eat. I was gaining some fat around my hips. It seemed like I would need to increase my training as well. Namgung kept staring at the backs of the boy and girl who had stepped outside. She couldn't take her eyes off of them. Why was that the case? She asked herself. But she already knew the answer. Namgung then suddenly perceived a horrible stench. She wanted to cover her nose, but she knew it wasn't a smell that would go away just by covering her nose. Sister. Namgung slowly turned her head to look at her little brother. It was a thick stench. How come her brother always had that horrible stench on him? She couldn't figure it out. She didn't want to be close to her father, the elders, or even her brother. Her brother treated her nicely, but that alone couldn't change her feelings. She couldn't tell if she felt guilt towards her family, or just pure hatred. I want to run away. She wanted to run away from the horrible stench. All of us are over there, so how come you sat here? Namgung Chanjin asked. Because the smell is worse when everyone is gathered together like that. Namgung couldn't say that, though. This spot was just the closest to me. You can cause trouble for others if you act like this. Come sit at the right spot next time. Yeah. Sorry. She saw Namgung Chanjin's smiling face, but she felt frustrated instead. I want to run away, but to where? Namgung asked herself. Then she thought of the boy. The boy she coincidentally ran into surprisingly had no stench around him. There was no smell on him. It was the first time she had felt such a thing. The man named Mian had a bit of a smell, but even his smell would go away when he went near the boy. She couldn't figure out the reason why the boy felt annoyed around her and wanted to keep his distance from her, but even then, she felt comfortable around him. After being around him, after experiencing what it felt like not to have to bear the smell, she found it particularly hard to bear the stench coming from her brother. She quickly rose to her feet. Sister. Where are you going? The carriage. I'll be going first. Namgung left her little brother and quickly followed Gu Yangchen. Namgung Chanjin, who was left behind, stared at Namgung his expression slowly morphing. From his nice and kind little brother facade, he went back to his cold face. What's the problem? Crack. Namgung Chanjin had a habit of cracking his fingers. Something was wrong, Namgung Chanjin could tell this much. Such a thing had never happened before. I hate disruptors. The sound of cracking stopped, and Namgung Chanjin slowly turned around. Namgung Chanjin's eyes, after he turned around, were filled with the desire to kill. Chapter 29. The Iron Maiden, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Iron Maiden, 1. The road to the Tang clan was easily one of the most comfortable paths we traveled through on our journey. It was probably well maintained due to the fact that it was a road that led to a town. Either way, thanks to that, the escorts who always seemed nervous looked to be a bit calmer. Or maybe they were calmer because we were traveling alongside people from the Namgung clan. The point was that the road to the Tang clan gave us no issues whatsoever. So the first time after I ate a yagua, the potato I was holding didn't look appetizing at all. Yeah. The yagua was so good. I feel bad for potatoes, but I think that yagua is tastier. Yeah. Why is a potato a potato? Yeah. Ha. While the road gave us no issues, it didn't mean we couldn't get trouble from elsewhere. For example, why is this Namgung lunatic always coming here? My head ached every time I looked at her. Why? Why are you always here? There was a blue carriage ready and waiting for her, so why did she insist on traveling with us? YCOL.A did nothing to help this matter as she continuously chirped to Namgung by .A, even after I'd specifically told her not to. I need to scold her seriously. It was also weird how the other Namgung lunatics suddenly seemed indifferent to everything that was happening. I had been expecting Namgung Changjin to follow me around judging by how he had acted towards me up until this point, but instead, he was just sitting quietly in his carriage. So he's fine with things staying like this. I could not understand the thought process of these lunatics. Some time had passed since we left, and the sun was now setting. I could understand Namgung by .A since she was a martial artist and all, but the fact that YCOL.A had been tirelessly talking to her through the day thoroughly impressed me, particularly since we still needed to travel a part of the route on foot. I guess she has been built different ever since birth. Then again, it'd be weird for her to be tired considering how much she ate. YCOL.A was someone who ate a lot, but, even if she was going to walk for a little while, it would just burn off everything she just consumed. I think that she had a truly blessed body. Meanwhile, I ate less than YCOL.A, but this stupid hip of mine was already showing signs of fat. Life is so unfair. After staring at the sky for a long period of time, someone in the crowd shouted. I can see the flag of Tang Clan BVEC just like what he said. I could see the green flag that had the word Tang written on it in the distance. Their numbers looked to be a little less than our currently mixed crew of Gu Clan and Namgung Clan. As soon as I caught sight of the flag, I began to quickly straighten my clothes. Sigh, my hair had gotten messed up back when I took a nap. This is why it's such a hassle to meet folks from the noble clans. At least I didn't have to treat the Namgung clan this way because of what Namgung Changjin and Namgung by .A did, so I was sort of thankful for that. I prepared to get off the carriage once it slowed down. When I went out, I saw Namgung Changjin already greeting the people of Tang. It's been a while, Changjin. I hope you have been well, brother Tang. Is there something bothering you these days? Your face doesn't look too well. It's probably because of the long trip. Right, since you guys came from far away. I honestly didn't expect for you to come here as well. My sister promised to come here, and I felt nervous about sending her alone. Oh, Lady by .A. Yeah, that makes sense. I always feel this, but you Namgung siblings always look like you have a good relationship. Meanwhile our soil is getting fiercer as the days pass by. After sharing a laugh with the person Namgung Changjin was speaking to, he then turned around and looked at me. Oh, young Master Gu. Come on over. Since when did we get close enough for him to call me with such a smile? I felt a bit sick at the appearance I saw him display after seeing his true self. As I went closer to them, I could clearly see the face of the man that was talking to Namgung Changjin. The man looked to be around 30 years of age, and had a rather innocent-looking face, despite the fact that he had the blood of Tang. He was the young lord of Tang Clan, Tang Juyok. I didn't know what his current title was, but in my past life he had been called the Poison Lord when the demonic cult appeared. Tang Juyok looked at me and came towards me with calm steps to greet me. So you are the young master from the Gu clan. I heard that people from the Gu clan was also coming to our clan. Thank you for coming all the way here. I am Tang Juyok. I was able to get a grasp on his character because he was being courteous to me, even though I was much younger than him. I showed respect back to him. I am Guz. I was about to introduce myself, but I quickly remembered that I had told these Namgung guys that I was Gu Jieliub. Why did I do that? This Gu Jieliub kid never helps. I never liked him, ever since the first time I met him. I came here in place of the Lord of Gu clan. He told me to tell you that he apologizes for not being able to participate in the event. I tried to make up a fake excuse. Thankfully, Tang Juyok didn't seem to care and had a smile on his face. It's understandable considering Lord Gu is busy with his work. It's only a small festival for the Tang clan, so we are thankful that you came here. When the bullshittery greeting was about to end, Namgung by reached us. She slightly bowed her head to Tang Juyak and greeted him. It's been a while, by Hello. By becomes prettier as days pass by. I couldn't tell it was you. Thank you. Oh right, our Soyol caused you trouble, right? I'm sorry about that. The kid still hasn't matured yet and caused trouble for you. No, it's all good. It was a promise. Thank you for understanding. Soyol seemed to have been waiting for a while. Chanjin and young Master Gu as well, you should start going before it becomes nighttime, we will guide you. Finally. I was able to finish this long trip and arrive at the Tang clan of Sichuan. It would have been a nicer trip if Namgung by who was always next to me, and that Namgung Chanjin, who continued to give me a death stare, didn't behave in this manner for seemingly no reason. Sigh. I just want a dumpling. What a shitty experience this trip turned out to be. The Tang clan of Sichuan. A noble clan that had spread their name throughout Sichuan, known to possess the most knowledge in the field of poison and blacksmithing. Sword art for the Namgung clan, spirit for the Ping clan, and keen eye for the Moyong clan. Compared to the other mentioned clans, the Tang clan was probably a step behind, but they had something great that the other three clans didn't. The military exhibition of Tang clan was created for that reason as well. Their martial art was famous for the use of poison, but their skills in the forge were also incomparable to others. The weapons crafted by the clan's greatest blacksmiths were widely regarded as masterpieces and works of art. The Tang clan was responsible for making most of the weapons that the Miram alliance utilized, and they were particularly respected as they had forged the Sword Emperor's weapon. Many clans would gladly line up for a chance to receive weapons made by the Tang clan. It's just that they don't hand out these weapons lightly. I don't know whether it was because of their noble name or not, but they didn't give their weapons easily to outsiders. Even if they were offered money. Then again, it's not like they were lacking in money anyway. Anyways, the military exhibition of Tang clan basically existed to brag to others about their weapons, which had reached near perfection. My guess on why they were holding this exhibit was something along the lines of: we are great at crafting weapons. If you treat us nicely, then we can offer you these weapons. Well, something like that. I did hear something about the Tang clan giving out one of the weapons in the military exhibition of Tang clan, but it wasn't something I cared about. Of course, if I were to get it, I could sell it for a high price. I didn't know what intentions the Tang clan had for them to show off their weapons, but that wasn't what I came here for in the first place. I have to be ready to find the secret vault. I couldn't forget the real reason why I'd come here. Jumyankan, and their secret vault. 3 days after the military exhibition of Tang, I only had 3 days. And the only info I had on the secret vault was a vague location of it. And even that information wasn't something I wasn't entirely sure about. If I didn't find the secret vault in the 3 days I had, I would need to go to Beggar's sect and spread the information about the Golden Nature clan's secret vault. How complicated. What are you thinking about so deeply, young master? It's nothing. Why Seol Dada spoke to me when she saw me struggling with my thoughts. With Tang Juyak's guidance, I finally arrived at the Tang clan of Sichuan. I had come here in my previous life as well, but seeing the clan again after only having a faint memory of it was astounding. The Tang clan looked to be bigger than the heaven market I had gone to for the 9 Dragons ceremony. When all is said and done, they are indeed a noble clan. The roots of the orthodox factions were different, even in size. After arriving and unpacking my belongings, I planned to take a look around the place. They didn't tell me not to wander around, so I felt like I could at least do that much. I told them that I was going for a walk, and with Seol Dada quickly tagging along, we went for the walk together. After following the road for a while, a forest filled with trees appeared. How big does a clan have to be for it to have a forest within it? Crick, crick. With each step, I heard the sound of crickets. I moved my steps after the sound of the crickets which filled up the forest, and when I noticed some fireflies along the way, I realized that it would soon be summer. After walking for a bit, I ran into an artificial lake. It wasn't a large lake and instead seemed to have been intricately designed. The delicate decorations were something that even I had to applaud. The sight of fireflies hovering above the lake as well as the lotus flower floating on its surface made for an undeniably beautiful sight. Wow! When even someone like me could appreciate its beauty, Old was understandably mesmerized by the lake before her. A large smile adorned her face as she looked on with glittering eyes. I wondered if I should pat her head at that moment. I didn't, in the end. It's so pretty, young master. I agree. Old started following the fireflies, dancing with them. At that sight, I rubbed my eyes with the back of my hand. Sometimes, I would look for signs of the Old I knew in my previous life. Like now. The Old now didn't have her moonlight hair, nor did she have her sharp cold eyes. She instead had black hair that resembled the sky at night, and a face that was always brimming with joy. She was so different from the girl from my previous life. So, why am I always looking for that Old in the current Old? I smirked at the thought I had. Why am I even thinking about this? It's just a passing thought. What? It's nothing, let's start going back, it's almost bedtime. We'd spent enough time admiring the scenery. Just as I turned around, already envisioning the good night's sleep I would finally be able to enjoy after arriving at the clan. Who are you? A sharp voice pierced through my ears. I turned towards the direction the voice had come from and saw Namgung looking at me with an astonished expression and someone else standing alongside her. The mysterious newcomer was the owner of the voice. And she soon spoke to me once again. This is a place outsiders aren't allowed to enter. Who are you? As the moonlight beamed upon her, I was able to see her face. Then I recalled exactly who this woman was. The green eyes that were blatantly noticeable even at night time were already a dead giveaway. The Poison Queen, Tang Soyol. She was the first person in history to be immune to any kind of poison. She was the Iron Maiden, who fought against thousands of demons that would appear in Sichuan in the near future, all by herself. And, in my past life, she was one of the people who I'd personally killed with my own hands.